Chapter 1269. Dong Huangji also had the same feeling, and his entire body shivered. Brother-in-law, this is all a misunderstanding. The flood rushed to the Dragon King's temple. A misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Dong Huangji was so flustered that he started dancing. Misunderstanding. That's right, that's right. I dare to swear to the heavens that this is all a misunderstanding. I didn't intend to harm anyone at all. Dong Huangji patted his chest and said, wishing that he could shatter his own chest to prove himself. Looking at Dong Huangji's attitude, Yihua felt that this situation was still pretty good. If anything were to happen in the future, Dong Huangji would be able to lead the Dong Huang family and help his sister. After all, I can't take care of my sister forever. It's fine to prepare another path for my sister. Since you said that this is a misunderstanding, I will believe you for once, Yihua said lightly. Hearing this tone, even Dong Huangji heaved a sigh of relief. This is how a normal tone should be. That tone just now was simply terrifying. As if he wanted to kill me. Thank you, brother-in-law. Thank you, brother-in-law. Dong Huangji hurriedly thanked Yihua and finally heaved a sigh of relief. Yihua said gravely, didn't you guys create a Dong Huang family? In the future, continue to do so, properly assist my sister, understand? I know, I think so too. Dong Huangji felt that he had returned to the time when he was young, and he could casually say those kind of compliments. It is for the best that you have such awareness, let's leave it at that. Yihua said indifferently, then his body disappeared. Right now, Dong Huangji's back was drenched with sweat. This man can even deal with palace masters. What else can't he deal with? If he wanted to kill me just now, I reckon that he would be able to deal with me with a single slap. This is already the best ending. I am truly fortunate. Very quickly, Yihua returned to his own empire. His subordinates had already been dismissed, and Wei Chang had also released Death Mage and Death Assassin. When Death Mage found out that his woman actually went to train, although he didn't have a scalp, he still felt numb. However, Death Assassin was thinking about how is that Long Out Yin? Is he in any danger? After all, he is still my disciple, and that golden-haired little treasure. Yihua had almost forgotten about that matter, and he couldn't even remember who Long Out Yin was. After thinking for a long time, I finally figured it out. So it's that man. I felt that it's a little funny, but I never expected that the Death Assassin would actually be guarding beside Long Out Yin. However, to Yihua, this was just a small matter, and he didn't take it to heart. Because there was something more important that needed to be dealt with. Your Honor, something happened. Zhu Tian hurried over and reported the situation. What happened? Yihua was currently eating lunch with Dong Huang Baiji, and Zhu Tian suddenly rushed over. For Zhu Tian to be this anxious, Yihua knew that it was definitely a big matter. If it was just a small matter, Zhu Tian would definitely not disturb Dong Huang Baiji's meal. Dong Huang Baiji slightly raised her head and looked towards Zhu Tian, and her expression gradually became grave. Could it be that among those people, someone is in danger? Or, it's the people who are training, Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice. Yihua tightly wrinkled his brows. Among those people, there was my own younger brother and my subordinates. If something were to really happen to them, it wouldn't be good. Who died? Yihua asked coldly. This caused Dong Huang Baiji to become cold as well. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained. Your Honor, madam, it's not that someone died, it's just that there's an extra person. Ah. Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji were puzzled. There's an extra person? Who is that person? Yihua asked curiously. There shouldn't be anyone else in that kind of place. Zhu Tian said in a low voice, as if he was talking about a secret. That person, he claims to be a guardian. Zhu Tian said in a light voice, and his tone was filled with astonishment. After all, quite a few of these guardians had already appeared, and right now, there was even one of them living in the imperial palace. When Yihua heard that this guardian had appeared, the frown on his brows became even deeper. These guardians have been appearing one after another since the very beginning, and it was as if they had already agreed on this beforehand. The main point was the strength of these guardians were all extremely formidable. However, what kind of things would a group of such people be protecting? This was what made Yihua curious. However, under this curiosity, Yihua kept feeling that this was not a good thing. This was a kind of intuition. But Yihua never believed in intuition, and he only believed in himself. Your Honor, how should we deal with this guardian? Zhu Tian asked respectfully. He is following little Tian and the others? Yihua picked up his chopsticks, picked up a green bean, and placed it into his mouth to chew. That's right. Let him continue following us then. Yihua also had his own plans. Right now he had a better feeling towards the person behind the guardian. If it is possible, I really want to meet up with the guardian and have a chat with him. Or perhaps, just what exactly are these guardians protecting, or who are they protecting? I, the Supreme Overlord, hope that it is who it is. If it is something, I, the Supreme Overlord, will be disappointed. Of course, legendary weapons are still very rare, and if it is possible, Yihua also wants to get his hands on one to satisfy his craving. Zhu Tian naturally wouldn't go against his honor's order, and he shouted out respectfully, "Subordinate shall take his leave. I shall not disturb his honor and your wife from enjoying their meal." After speaking, Yi Juetian swallowed his saliva. These dishes seem to be very delicious. Yu is the one who is the best at cooking, and right now, she has gone out to train, causing the amount of food that she gets to eat to plummet. Furthermore, Blood Demon only cooks for his honor, and other people can only eat his honor's food during festivals. It must be said, right now Blood Demon has obtained his honor's heart, with his culinary skills. Compared to strength, Blood Demon is much more powerful. After Zhu Tian left, Yihua placed down his chopsticks, picked up the wine that was beside him, and lightly took a sip. Yihua, just who are these guardians? Why are they appearing one after another? Donghuang Baiji was also very worried. She felt that these guardians were the ones that she needed to be on guard against. As for that palace master, she could just directly ignore him. Yihua took a sip of the wine, then said faintly, "These people are indeed a bit troublesome. The problem is, what are they protecting? After all, none of them are weak. Then will they be targeting us?" Hearing Yihua's tone, Donghuang Baiji felt as if they wouldn't be able to win the battle. Yihua laughed lightly. Targeting us? That will only hasten their deaths. Looking at Yihua's relaxed expression again, Donghuang Baiji was slightly infected. Yihua has never been afraid of anyone. That would be for the best. Yihua, you have to work hard. Don't let your guard down anymore. Yihua smiled as he stroked onto Donghuang Baiji's hair. Rest assured, Your Majesty, I have always been the one who wins the first battle. There is no such thing as me making a mistake. Chapter 1270. Donghuang Baiji remained silent. I'm afraid that Yihua will really make a mistake one day. In a battle between experts, a mistake would mean losing your life. Promise me in the future, you will treat every battle seriously. Donghuang Baiji held onto Yihua's hand and said worriedly. Yihua nodded his head. Don't worry, I will promise you this rude request of yours. Donghuang Baiji laughed. You bastard, I am talking to you seriously, yet you are acting so frivolous again. When did I become frivolous? Your Majesty, don't slander me. Yihua smiled faintly. TSK. Donghuang Baiji snorted. Yihua suddenly thought of something and pinched the Empress's cheeks. Right, Your Majesty, I have something to ask you. What is it? Donghuang Baiji asked confusedly. Actually, it's not a big matter. I just want to ask you, how old are you compared to me? Yihua revealed a teasing smile. Seeing Yihua's smile, Donghuang Baiji immediately knew that this fellow was teasing her again. Do you want to know? Donghuang Baiji teased. Sometimes, a husband and wife need this kind of atmosphere to improve their relationship. Yihua nodded his head. I can be your ancestor now. Donghuang Baiji spread out her hands. Yihua's mouth twitched. I feel that I am at a disadvantage. Are you older than me by tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years? What? What do you want? The Empress placed her hands on her waist. Is she looking down on me now? I want to have a taste of your ancestor. After speaking, Yihua carried the Empress. Empress Baiji cried out in surprise. Yihua, it's broad daylight. What does it have to do with me? Shameless. Your Majesty, do you think that a shameless man will be able to get a beautiful wife? That's impossible. You are full of twisted logic, Dong Huang Baiji said snappily. Old witch. Who are you calling an old witch? You. Yihua. I'm not done with you. The room immediately filled with the sound of the two scolding each other. Their relationship sure is good. Meanwhile, Long Outyan's group had already arrived at the Sea of Innocence, where the north and south intersected. Their journey was more daunting than dangerous, and they did not encounter any major incidents. They did not even see any pursuers. However, towards the death assassin's sudden departure, everyone was puzzled. Of course, they were reluctant to part with him. However, they also saw many wondrous sights along the way. Ever since that night, the entire continent had undergone tremendous changes. Some of the ground sank, some of the ground cracked, and some of the ground rose up like a mountain. Along the way, the few of them were amazed. Long Outyan even felt that it had something to do with that night. Even the disappearance of the death assassin was related to that night. Previously, he'd heard that the Sea of Innocence was a vast expanse of ocean, and that it was a spectacular sight. But now, there wasn't even a single drop of water, and there was only a bottomless abyss below. So this is the Sea of Innocence, said Long Outyan in a daze. Lord Jiu frowned slightly as he looked at the bottomless abyss in front of him. However, he could not see the other side at all. Little Treasure sniffed the surroundings and growled from time to time. Grandpa, Daddy, your son will scout the way for you, Chu Yuxuan said faintly. He seemed really cold and aloof. Lord Jiu and Long Outyan seemed to have gotten used to being called Chu Yuxuan. Long Outyan shook his head. Forget it. Meng Meng hugged Long Yang and let out a light breath. A woman just wanted to find a stable home. However, ever since she came to this world, she never had a stable home. Long Outyan looked at his wife beside him. He knew what his wife was thinking. She also wanted to find a home and live a peaceful life. But that Wushu Empire. It was said that it was located in the northernmost part of the continent. However, they had only reached the center of the continent. Furthermore, the north didn't have such good weather, and it was extremely cold. Are we really going to that Wushu Empire? Can't we go to other cities? Meng Meng asked in a low voice. Actually, Meng Meng didn't really care where they were going. She mainly wanted to settle down. However, Long Outyan also had his own ideas. He wanted to find a safe place where they didn't have to move around. Long Outyan hugged onto his wife's shoulder and said in a low voice, Meng Meng, you can be at ease, there is still quite a distance to go. They all say that Wushu Empire is like heaven on earth. And after we reach there, we will be able to live a good life. We don't have to live this kind of wandering life anymore. Lord Jiu didn't think so, because whenever he heard the word Wushu, he would immediately associate it with Wushu realm. However, Lord Jiu was also thinking in his heart, it shouldn't be such a coincidence, right? To be able to meet with Wushu realm in such a place, it doesn't exist. Therefore, I can go and take a look. Lord Jiu rubbed onto Xiaobao's head, and Xiaobao wagged his tail happily. To Xiaobao, as long as there was a place with an owner, that place would be home. Chu Yuxuan could be seen flying straight into the abyss, causing Long Outyan to cry out in surprise. Lord Jiu held onto his forehead and asked helplessly in a low voice. Outyan, what kind of acupuncture technique is that? You still haven't finished researching it. I can give it a try. Meng Meng rolled her eyes at her husband. It's best if you don't give it a try. Just now, you made others look like a child. Then you made others look like a cold person. If you were to poke them again, what would you do if they end up sounding like an old man? That's right, Daddy. Big brother Yuxuan is actually quite pitiful. Don't keep poking others. Even Long Yang was pleading for Chu Yuxuan. Right now, Chu Yuxuan has already stopped his acupuncture technique. Don't let him have a bad habit anymore. Long Outyan let out a long sigh. That acupuncture technique is too difficult. However, what my wife and child said is right. If he were to have a bad habit again, it would be even more troublesome. Right now, this acupuncture technique is still considered to be obedient. Suddenly, Xiaobao actually barked toward the abyss, and this caused everyone to be on guard. A ferocious aura immediately spread out from the abyss, and everyone immediately retreated. Long Outyan and Lord Jiu slightly bent their bodies, ready to fight at any moment. Meng Meng carried Long Yang, and stood behind the two. Xiaobao stood beside Lord Jiu and bared his fangs, and his gaze was also very ferocious. 3 figures could be seen rushing out from the abyss, and one of them was naturally Chu Yuxuan. The other 2 were dressed in armor and looked just like imperial guards. At the very least, Long Outyin and Lord Jiu could tell that Chu Yuxuan was very strong. However, the fact that these 2 soldiers were able to suppress Chu Yuxuan left them puzzled. Who are you people? How dare you intrude into the Sea of Innocence? One of the imperial guards shouted coldly. Chu Yuxuan snorted coldly. Sea of Innocence. Show me a drop of seawater. The 2 imperial guards glanced at each other, then shouted angrily. Audacious! You actually dare to disrespect the Sea of Innocence. You deserve to die. After speaking, the 2 imperial guards launched a new round of attacks. Under the pincer attack of the 2, Chu Yuxuan seemed to be a bit powerless. The other party was indeed very strong. Chapter 1271. Long Outyin hurriedly shouted. You've misunderstood. We didn't do it on purpose. We just wanted to cross the Sea of Innocence. We didn't have any other intentions. Following Long Outyin's shout, the 2 bodyguards slowed down their attacks, allowing Chu Yuxuan to recover. For Chu Yuxuan, these 2 bodyguards were still very strong. If it was a 1v1, it would be fine. However, fighting 2 of them would be very disadvantageous for him. The cooperation between the 2 of them was also flawless. Their battle prowess was doubled. Why are you crossing the Sea of Innocence? Why are you going north? One of the guards asked. Jiu Yi shouted. We're going to the Wushu Empire in the north. Wushu Empire? The guard said in a low voice. His expression gave Long Outyin and Jiu Yi a bad feeling. Could it be that there was some conflict between these guards and the Wushu Empire? They didn't have any conflict, but they'd heard of the Wushu Empire. They'd heard that it was a good place, but at the same time, there was a bone dragon there. This bone dragon was said to be the one that hadn't died completely. As for whether or not that was true, they didn't know. Yes, we're going there to settle down, Long Outyin said. The 2 guards stopped. Long Outyin hurriedly called Chu Yuxuan back. Chu Yuxuan knew that he wasn't their match, so he quickly returned. However, Jiu Ye's golden retriever was still barking. Jiu Yi patted Xiaobao's head, but Xiaobao seemed very stubborn and kept barking at the 2 guards. Woof woof woof. His barking echoed throughout the abyss. If you can't fly, you can't cross this place, one of the guards suddenly said. The Sea of Innocence was ridiculously wide. An ordinary flight would take at least a month, and that was the kind of flight that didn't stop. That's why the guard kindly reminded them that they'd probably lose all of their battle energy before even flying for a day. Then, they'd fall to the bottom of the abyss and die. Long Outyin and Jiu Yi naturally knew how to fly, but Meng Meng and Long Yang couldn't. And Xiaobao couldn't either. Carrying them, they definitely wouldn't be able to fly. Little brother, is there any other way to cross? Jiu Yi asked in a pleading tone. In the past you could take a boat, but now, there's really no other way. You should just return, the guard said indifferently, then left. After the 2 guards left, the group didn't say anything. They were all filled with helplessness. Dad, who were those people just now? Long Yang asked curiously. In this plane, people could grow up quickly. Long Yang was like this now. Lord Jiu said in a low voice. These people are probably from Water City. That's right. I heard that there's a water city beneath the Sea of Innocence, but I'm afraid it'll have to be renamed. It won't be called Water City anymore, said Long Outyin helplessly. Was it really impossible to go there? Dad, what's that called? Long Yang asked curiously. Little brother, this place should be called Deep Abyss City, Chu Yuxuan said coolly. However, a voice suddenly rang out. Abyss City, what a nice name. Everyone immediately looked up and saw a figure floating in the air. He was dressed in a luxurious robe, and it was obvious that he was a disciple of a rich family. The person who came was Qi Shuwen. As for why he came, it was because he heard the dog barking. As far as Qi Shuwen knew, there was no such thing as a dog on this continent, so he came over to take a look out of curiosity. This is incredible, it's actually a golden fur. How is it possible for a golden fur to appear here? Long Outyin and the others were also sizing him up, feeling very confused. Qi Shuwen slowly descended. He looked at Long Outyin and Meng Meng, then at Lord Jiu, and a look of astonishment immediately appeared in his eyes. You're Lord Jiu? Qi Shuwen cried out in surprise. Back then, Lord Jiu lived a very good life. Lord Jiu's photos were everywhere. Although Qi Shuwen never interacted with Lord Jiu, he still recognized Lord Jiu. If Xian Ba was here, he would definitely recognize Lord Jiu. After all, Lord Jiu was his superior. However, Lord Jiu didn't recognize Qi Shuwen. Lord Jiu was also puzzled that the man in front of him knew him. Long Outyin was also very shocked. Could it be that this man in front of me is also a transmigrate? Is he the same as me? You are? Lord Jiu asked. Qi Shuwen smiled. I didn't expect to meet someone from the same hometown. My luck is really good. You all transmigrated here, right? My name is Qi Shuwen. Qi Shuwen was very enthusiastic to meet someone from the same hometown. He was an outsider in this world, and he felt a sense of loneliness. Now that he met someone from the same hometown, that sense of familiarity instantly came. You also transmigrated here? My name is Long Outyin. This is my wife Meng Meng, my child is Long Yang, and this child is Chu Yuxuan. Long Outyin introduced carefully. Qi Shuwen was very happy and asked curiously, how long have you all been here? Why did you all come here? Sigh, we have been here for a period of time. Recently, we were being chased after, and we didn't have a safe place to stay. Thus, we decided to go to Wushu Empire. Lord Jiu said gravely. One had no choice but to lower one's head when under someone else's eaves. This was a plane where strength was respected. Being chased after? Who is chasing after us? Qi Shuwen said angrily. Chasing after my fellow townsmen, that means that they are going against me. Long Outyin said helplessly. It's a power called Broken Meridian Sect, they are very powerful. So it's Broken Meridian Sect, they are indeed very powerful. However, since you all came to my water city, they definitely won't dare to do anything. Qi Shuwen patted on his chest and guaranteed. You are in Water City? Lord Jiu cried out in surprise. Water City is very powerful. I have heard about it on the way here. Qi Shuwen also felt a little proud. After all, Lord Jiu was very powerful in the past, but now, I am doing even better. After I came over, I appeared in Water City. After working hard without any slack, I can still say a few words in Water City now. Long Outyin said with a faint smile. Lord Jiu gave a thumbs up. Youngsters here are truly incredible. As long as they are given the chance, they will be able to soar into the sky. How about following me to Water City? Qi Shuwen said passionately. He walked in front of Xiao Bao and patted Xiao Bao's head. At first, Xiao Bao was still very resistant, but when he saw Qi Shuwen's sincere gaze, he no longer resisted. Outyin, how about it? How about we go to Water City first? Lord Jiu came to Long Outyin's side and said in a low voice. The current Long Outyin was no longer the Long Outyin of the past. The person in front of him was, after all, a stranger. When a fellow townsman met a fellow townsman, there would always be a blade on one's back. Outyin. Meng Meng called out. In her heart, she didn't want to leave anymore. I heard that Water City is very powerful. If I am able to live in it, I will definitely be very safe. Long Outyin looked at Lord Jiu and his wife, took a deep breath, walked in front of Qi Shuwen, cupped his hands and said, Then I will have to trouble you. Qi Shuwen turned his head and looked at Long Outyin, patted Long Outyin's shoulder and said, Don't worry, Water City will definitely be very safe. The Broken Meridian Sect will not dare to come. Chapter 1272. When Meng Meng heard this, she heaved a sigh of relief and said to her son, Yang, we finally have a home. Long Yang was very obedient. Long Outyin looked at his wife and child and smiled. Although they didn't go to Wushu Empire, it was still good to come to this Water City. Jiu Yi patted Xiao Bao's head and heaved a sigh of relief. These days of running for their lives, they were exhausted. Sometimes, they really wanted to give up. Qi Shuwen brought everyone to the bottom of the Sea of Innocence. However, it couldn't be said to be at the bottom of the sea. It was just a city in a ditch. Of course, they couldn't see what was below from the shore, because it was really very, very deep. Although there was no seawater, the water city was still magnificent. At the very least, when Long Outyin and Jiuyi saw the water city, they were shocked. This was simply a combination of ancient and modern times. Dad, Mom, this place is so beautiful. Long Yang liked the city at first glance. He even spread his arms, as if he wanted to hug the entire water city. Yeah, it's really beautiful, Meng Meng murmured, her eyes filled with shock. Long Outyin and Jiuyi were the same. To Qi Shuwen, a strange feeling rose. On Earth, Jiuyi was stronger than me, but here I, Qi Shuwen, am the awesome one. Fellow townsmen, this is Water City. Qi Shuwen introduced. His status in Water City had risen. His father-in-law, who didn't approve of him in the past, was now starting to approve of him. Looking at the prosperity of Water City, one couldn't even see the end of it. It's really big. I feel that this should be better than Wushu Empire. This is really an eye-opener. I'm impressed. Jiuyi cupped his hands. This young man actually did so well after transmigrating here, while I forget it. I came here because I was tired of that kind of life. If I wasn't tired of it, I wouldn't have come here. Qi Shuwen said modestly, You flatter me. Everyone, please follow me. Long Outyin saw that there were actually interstellar cannons on the city walls. He was amazed. Just what kind of city was this? After entering the city, Long Outyin saw the true prosperity of Water City. His eyes brightened. The guards here were really strong. There are 3 big families in Water City. I am now a member of the Bao family. Hearing Qi Shuwen's words, everyone instantly understood. It turned out that he was going to marry into his family. After all, his surname was Bao. However, this was also someone else's ability. This was not something that could be obtained through envy. Long Outyin laughed and said, Brother Qi's wife must be very beautiful. Ugly woman. I'm just an ugly woman. Qi Shuwen said modestly. My wife is Water City's #1 beauty. Of course, everyone knew that Qi Shuwen was being modest, so they just smiled and said nothing. The Bao family was still so big. Although the eldest son died in the last battle, it still couldn't stop the Bao family's development. Long Outyin and the others were shocked as well. As expected of one of the top 3 families in Water City, the scale of the family was really shocking. Husband. At this moment, Bao Yu walked over from the front hall with a smile, looking at the person behind her husband. Long Outyin and the others took a look at Abalone. How is this an ugly woman? She looks so good. She is truly an exceptionally beautiful woman. Sharky, let me introduce you. These are my fellow countrymen, Qi Shuwen said happily. Abalone seemed to be very hospitable and revealed a light smile. Hello everyone, quickly come into the hall and chat. Seeing that Abalone didn't put on any airs, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Generally speaking, big families would look down on others a bit. However, the people from the Bao family seem to be quite easy to get along with. Come in everyone, Sharky will get people to serve tea, prepare the dishes and also a room. Qi Shuwen laughed lightly. All right everyone, I will take my leave first. Abalone said in a low voice. Sorry to disturb you all. Jiuyi revealed a kind smile. This couple is really hospitable. Qi Shuwen said generously. What's there to disturb, come. Don't be polite, it isn't easy to live outside. Long Outyin nodded his head. It was indeed not easy to live outside. Everyone sat in the hall, and the tea was served very quickly. Abalone didn't disturb everyone's chat, and went to prepare the dishes personally, causing Long Outyin and the others to panic. Isn't she being too hospitable? She wouldn't kill us and turn us into barbecued pork buns, right? Everyone, you can stay here in the future. The Bao family has a lot of houses, and you and I are very bored. Qi Shuwen chuckled and beckoned Little Bao over. Little Bao looked at Lord Jiu and Lord Jiu nodded. Only then did Little Bao slowly walk to Qi Shuwen's side and squat down. Qi Shuwen gently stroked Xiao Bao's head. A long time ago, he also had the thought of feeding a dog. At that time he wanted to feed a Samoyed, but he didn't have the time, so he spent all his time cultivating. There was no dog breed here. Now that he saw a golden retriever, he felt a lot of emotions. If you want to say which plane is better, Qi Shuwen wanted to say that it is still my home that is better. But I was forced to come over. Hearing Qi Shuwen's suggestion, of course, Everyone was embarrassed to agree. Perhaps he was just being polite. There's no need for that. That would be too much trouble for you, Long Outyin quickly said. However, Long Yang pouted and said, Daddy, Mommy and I like it here. Grandpa, Dad, I like it here too, Chu Yuxuan said. Long Outyin and Lord Jiu felt awkward. Qi Shuwen looked at everyone and said with a smile, All right, it's decided then. You guys don't have to be so polite anymore. Long Outyin and Lord Jiu looked at each other. Lord Jiu smiled. Then we'll do as you say. In the future, you don't have to be restrained anymore. In this world, you still have to properly cultivate. Qi Shuwen said lightly. Ever since the Sea of Innocence lost its seawater, I can no longer absorb draconic energy. I have to think of a way. Long Outyin nodded his head. Indeed. If I were as strong as Death Assassin, I wouldn't have to bring my wife and child and run away. Strength is still very important. However, Lord Jiu didn't think so. Strength is indeed important, but it isn't everything. I just want to bring little Bao along and live out my later years in peace, away from those disputes. However, those disputes always come looking for me, so it's very annoying. That's right, strength is still the key, Long Outyin said in a low voice. In the future, when everyone cultivates together, we can also compare notes with each other, Qi Shuwen said with a faint smile, teasing little Bao from time to time. After a long while everyone was chatting, Abalone walked in with a smile on her face. Husband, everyone, it's time to eat. Qi Shuwen stood up and said with a smile, Everyone, let's go and fill our stomachs and have a good rest. Chapter 1273. Thank you, brother. Long Outyin also felt at ease. Since I did not go to Wushu Empire, this place is also a good choice. Long Outyin and Jiuyi have settled down in Water City. If I go to Wushu Empire, I should be even more shocked or even sullen. After all, back then, I was still Yihua's love rival, and I was messed up by Yihua. However, if not for Yihua, I wouldn't have met the current Meng Meng, and I wouldn't have my son. Therefore, Long Outyin still had to thank Yihua for letting him meet such a cute girl. As long as one is willing to work hard, the heavens will see, then give a bit of charity, and then continue to live a bitter life. After all, I have already gotten used to it. Right now, Yihua was chatting with Ren Yao, wanting to know more about the Guardians. Ren Yao sat opposite to Yihua and seemed a bit restrained, mainly because she was afraid of being beaten up. If I didn't stomp that eye into a poached egg, I wouldn't be so passive. However, even if I didn't, the ending would still be the same. To Yi Zizi, it was just the difference between 1 punch and 2 punches. Ren Yao, how many guardians do you have in total? In Yihua's knowledge, there were a total of 4 guardians. The first one was that Su Diao, the second one was that woman called Xingtsong that he met in God's realm, and the last one was the one that his little brother met right now. Ren Yao pursed her lips and said softly, Your Honor, I really don't know about this. Then, what do you know? Yihua knew that Ren Yao wasn't lying to him, that Su Diao didn't remember anything either. However, speaking of which, why did these guardians lose their memories all at once? Just what kind of secret is hidden here? I feel that it should be a very big secret. After all, the strength of these guardians are all very powerful. I only know my name and nickname, Ren Yao said embarrassedly. She knew why Yihua came over to ask her. Although Yihua knew that this fellow would say that, there was still a bit of hope. Then, don't you have a place that you want to go to? In your subconscious? Yihua asked curiously. That Su Diao seemed to have said that. Ren Yao swallowed her saliva. What does his honor mean by this? Is he chasing me away? Or could it be that he has another purpose? Strange, this is simply too strange. No. Ren Yao chose to stay. The outside world was very dangerous. Who knew if she would meet another group of powerful people? If that happened, she would die and become a prisoner again. It was great to live here. There was food, water, and protection from some big shots. There was no need to worry about anything else. Yihua let out a light sigh. I really came here for nothing. If you have any thoughts, inform me, understand? Yihua said gravely. Yes, I will. Ren Yao said respectfully. Thoughts? That didn't exist. How could he have such thoughts? Yihua left helplessly. I keep having the feeling that these guardians aren't good people, and it's only because they lost their memories that they became good people. Perhaps he was a very bad person. These 4 guardians, 3 males and 1 female. Are there any other guardians? He was a little frustrated. Returning back to his bedroom, Donghuang Baiji was currently pruning a potted plant in the garden. Yihua felt that recently, the women in the guild, have they become bored to this extent? All of the women in the guild are pruning plants. Yihua, did you manage to get anything out of him? Donghuang Baiji, who was currently pruning, asked lightly. Yihua sat in the pavilion at the side and said indifferently, "Nope. It's fine if you don't have anything. What will come will come. We just have to be prepared to fight against him." Donghuang Baiji appeared to be very confident and relaxed. I was still very worried a while ago, but for some reason, I am now confident again. Yihua drank a mouthful of the tea that the Empress brewed and said faintly, "I like to be in control of everything, and I never do things that I am not confident in. Everything is in control of everything. What else is there to be fun about?" Donghuang Baiji, who was seriously pruning, said lightly. This sentence of hers was rather similar to Yihua's imposing manner. After hearing that, Yihua went into a daze. When did you have such a thought? Wasn't it taught by you? Didn't you always say that once you know everything, there wouldn't be any more surprises? Donghuang Baiji said softly. After hearing what Donghuang Baiji said, Yihua suddenly woke up. Recently, I seem to have changed a bit. I don't really like surprises anymore. This is a very serious matter. It is fortunate that Donghuang Baiji reminded me. If not, I would have lost myself. That wouldn't be fun anymore. That's right, surprises. I won't go and investigate, Yihua said with a slight smile. He immediately relaxed, and he felt that the tea had become much more fragrant and sweet. Donghuang Baiji laughed, then turned her head and looked towards Yihua. This is how your honor should be, magnanimous. Yihua raised up his thumb towards the Empress. As expected of my woman, she is becoming more and more understanding. I wonder what the other 3 are doing right now. Are they accompanying mother to play outside? Are they really not coming back? Yihua immediately contacted Qing Yutong. Brother-in-law, do you have any instructions for me? Are you missing sister-in-law? Qing Yutong was still the same as before, teasing her brother-in-law. Yihua even heard Qingya saying, Yutong, can you speak properly? I can't. When Yihua heard the 2 sisters quarreling, a smile appeared on his face. I haven't heard their voices for a very long time, and I do miss them quite a bit. Where are mother and Yuqing? Yihua asked curiously. Qing Yutong said, they went to the toilet. Are you 2 still bringing mother to play outside the country? Yihua asked curiously. These 2 sure are playful, the kind that doesn't even know that they are coming back. Qingya said lightly, no, we are currently resting in the service area. Service area? Are you 2 on the highway? That's right, we are bringing mother to Shirley Art Gallery to play. The scenery there is great, mother wants to go and have a look. I have never been there before. Yihua pouted his mouth. I have been living in Gaohai City all this time, and I have never left that place before. It is even more impossible for me to go on a vacation. Brother-in-law, you can also come over now, we can go on a vacation together. Big sister, why did you hit me? Qingya said tenderly. Yihua, if you are done with your matters, come and play with us. Actually, mother also wants you to accompany her. If you are busy, then forget it. Yihua wrinkled his brows. I am pretty much done with my matters recently. How about I go and play with you too? We haven't really traveled together much. That's great. Call the Empress over as well. Let's play together. Qing Yutong laughed happily. Qing Yutong also wanted to travel together with Yihua. Alright, wait for me for a while. Yihua decided. It's good to go and relax. Chapter 1274. After ending the call, Yihua stood up and said, Baiji, let's go and accompany mother to play for a few days. Yihua merely wanted to go and play for a few days. After all, there were still things that had not been completely settled here. What he was referring to was, of course, the matter regarding the guardian. Are we heading over right now? Donghuang Baiji asked puzzledly. Yihua nodded his head. And I will accompany my mother for a trip. Is that so? All right then, I'll go and change my clothes. You should go and change too. What we're wearing now is a bit too exaggerated. Donghuang Baiji took a look at the emperor gown that Yihua was wearing and the emperor gown that she was wearing. It is very normal for us to be wearing the emperor gown here, but if we were to go to the other side, it would be very abnormal. Yihua felt that Yihua was right. Such a way of dressing is indeed a bit exaggerated. He put on his black suit, and that familiar feeling came. He felt that he hadn't worn a suit for a long time. As for Donghuang Baiji, she had changed into a blue long skirt, and she looked very fairy-like. Coupled with that absolutely beautiful face of hers, tsk. Yihua was unable to describe what he saw. However, in Yihua's eyes he was already used to it, and he felt that it was nothing much. Is it beautiful? Donghuang Baiji spun one round on the spot. In actuality, Donghuang Baiji was indeed very beautiful, and Donghuang Baiji also wanted Yihua to praise her. Every woman would want to hear such praises, even if they were old couples. Especially Yihua. After so many years, it was very rare for him to praise his wife for being beautiful. Yihua took a look then said faintly, not bad. Donghuang Baiji. Meeting a man who didn't know how to speak was really embarrassing. But then again, only honest men wouldn't say sweet nothings. Scumbags would just run their mouths off. Donghuang Baiji didn't expect Yihua to praise her beauty anymore. Donghuang Baiji let out a deep sigh in her heart. Let's go. Yihua didn't say anything. I feel that the Empress should be having her period, and for her mood to be a bit erratic, I am able to understand. The two of them disappeared on the spot. When they reappeared, they were already in the service area. Of course, they appeared in a place where there was no one. Looking at the service area in front of him and the big goods, Yihua actually had a feeling that he had returned home. Donghuang Baiji also had the same feeling. Everything in front of her is so familiar. From afar, Yihua saw Qingye and the others, and when he saw his mother, Yihua smiled lightly. When Lu Jing saw that her son had come, she also appeared to be very happy. Just now, when she heard her daughter-in-law say that Yihua was coming, she still did not believe it. Now he believed it. Mother. Yihua walked to the front of his mother and called out lightly. Lu Jing held on to Yihua's hand and said with concern, "You must have been very busy during this period of time. Have you settled everything?" "Mother, be at ease. Everything has been settled," Yihua said lightly. "Is little Tian okay?" No matter how Lu Jing pretended not to know, she was still very worried about her youngest son. Yihua nodded his head. "Mother, you can be at ease. Xiao Tian is doing very well right now, and there is one more good news that I want to tell you." Happy occasion? Lu Jing was puzzled. Even Qingye and the others who were beside him were puzzled. Could it be that you found another woman? Qingye immediately looked towards Donghuang Baiji. Qingye seemed to be saying, "Why didn't you look after Yihua properly and let him bring a woman home from outside?" Donghuang Baiji shook her head, indicating that she was not talking about this matter. In actuality, she knew what Yihua wanted to talk about. "And Gongyu is pregnant with little Tian's child." Yihua laughed lightly. "This should be a happy occasion, right?" Sure enough, when Lu Jing heard this news, she instantly revealed a happy expression. "Really? Gongyu is pregnant with little Tian's child?" "That's right, Gongyu is currently resting in the palace. In a few more months, the child will be born." "This is great. Little Tian is going to be a father." Lu Jing was very happy. This was the happiest thing that she had ever heard. "My eldest son and youngest son both have children. My life can finally be considered to be perfect." Yihua let out a breath and decided to tell them about this matter. "There is another bad news," Yihua said gravely. Sure enough, when Yihua said this, Lu Jing, who was extremely happy just a moment ago, became nervous. Qingye and the others couldn't stand Yihua anymore. Can't he just tell us everything in one go? To actually give us good news and bad news at the same time. "Did something happen?" Lu Jing asked nervously. Yihua said regretfully, "Yi died." Sure enough, when everyone heard this news, their expressions immediately became grave. In actuality, Lu Jing quite liked that child Yi. Yi is kind-hearted and doesn't have any schemes. What happened previously was all a misunderstanding. And Lu Jing was even thinking that if Yi became her daughter-in-law, that would be pretty good too. But now Yi actually died? Qian Yuqing was also very shocked. Wasn't Yi going through her tribulation just now? After going through her tribulation, Yi became a god. How did she die just like that? Qin Yutong asked confusedly. Brother-in-law, wasn't Yi very powerful? How did this happen? Yi Hua didn't explain too much and said in a low voice, she died because she was trying to save someone. Although there wasn't a process, Lu Jing seemed to have understood. Yi is a kind-hearted girl. It is little Tian who let her down. Yi Hua nodded his head. For this matter, I, the Supreme Overlord, also have an unshirkable responsibility. Don't tell little Tian about this matter. It will be fine as long as we know about it. Yi Hua warned. Wasn't the reason why little Tian went to train this time for the sake of Yi? If the obsession in little Tian's heart was gone, little Tian wouldn't be able to be happy for the rest of his life. Qinya said disappointedly. However, paper can't wrap up fire. One day, little Tian will know about it as well. Let's talk about it when the time comes. Yi Hua let out a breath. The trip that was supposed to be a joyous one, along with Yi's death, became a bit dull. Donghuang Baiji wanted to tell Yi Hua to talk about this matter after the trip. Alright, where are you guys planning to go? Donghuang Baiji changed the topic and asked. Qinya knew what Donghuang Baiji meant and said, we are planning to go to Yangshuo County. What are we waiting for then? Let's go. Donghuang Baiji said tenderly as she held onto Lu Jing's arm. Lu Jing let out a light sigh and sat on the alfaro that was at the side. Yi Hua saw that the people around him actually took out their phones and started taking pictures. It can't be helped. Who asked these women to be so beautiful? It would be a pity if I don't take care of them. However, when everyone saw Yi Hua sitting on the alfaro, they all felt that it was a pity. There are so many beautiful women here, and yet, a man actually got on top of them. The heavens really don't have eyes. This is truly heartache. Qin Yutong drove the car. At this moment, Lu Jing said in a low voice, after we finish here, I will go back and take care of Gongyu. After all, I am pregnant right now. Yi Hua went into a daze for a moment then said, Mother, there is someone taking care of Gongyu. How can that person be taken care of by me? Mother, I am also worried, if something happens to little Tian's child. Lu Jing was incomparably worried. Yi is already gone. I have to properly take care of this child. Chapter 1275. After hearing that, Yi Hua didn't say anything. I know what my mother means. I'll just let my mother go. Qinya asked curiously. Yi Hua, what exactly happened when we were not around? It's a bit troublesome. I'll tell you when I go to the hotel tonight. Yi Hua said lightly. He didn't want his mother to worry about him. After all, the current crisis has not been completely eliminated yet. After hearing that, Qinya became heavy. For Yi Hua to say that it's troublesome, it should be a big problem. After arriving at the hotel, Lu Jing needed to rest for a bit. And when the four women arrived at Yi Hua's room, Qinya and the others wanted to hear what exactly happened. Yi Hua, what exactly happened? Qinya sat at the bedside and lightly held onto Yi Hua's hand. She felt that Yi Hua seemed to be very tired. Yi Hua told the three women about what happened, and the three women went into a daze. So many things happened during these few days. Fortunately, all of Yi Hua's subordinates have gathered together, and this can be counted as a good news. However, why does Qinya feel that Yi's death seems to be caused by the fight between Yi Hua and that palace master? The fight between the two actually destroyed the entire plane. Just how terrifying is that? Wei Chong still has such a brain. Not bad, he deceived all of us. Qinya sighed. After hearing that, Yi Hua smiled helplessly. That's right, this Wei Chong is indeed ruthless this time. He deceived all of us. Qian Yuqing asked gravely, Yi Hua, just who is that fortune teller? To actually be able to predict the ending thousands of years ago. He might just be making things up. Qin Yutong felt that Yi Hua was just a scammer. Qinya immediately knocked on her head. Then why don't you make something up for big sister to see? Qin Yutong pouted her mouth and said petulantly, Big sister, I'm so stupid, it's all because you knocked on my head. As for what this fortune teller is, we might find out in the future. Yihua said faintly. This should be counted as a surprise. I wonder if it will be a scare or not. Donghuang Baiji said in a low voice. Right now, the main problem is still with the guardian. Qingya nodded her head. This matter cannot be looked down upon. Yihua stood up and walked to the balcony at the side. Looking at the mountain outside, he said faintly, let's talk about these things after we return. We came out this time to relax. Qingya hugged Yihua from behind and said tenderly, let's face this together when we return. Yihua held onto Qingya's small hand, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Next, Yihua listened to Qingya and the others talk about the interesting things that happened during the past few days. 1 hour later, Yihua prepared to bring his whole family to Shirley Art Gallery to play. However, he heard from the tour guide that it would be better to rent a scooter. That way, it would be more convenient. Yihua had never ridden an electric scooter before, so he felt that he could give it a try. 3 electric scooters were just nice. However, the problem was that all 4 of his wives wanted to sit behind Yihua. At this time, Qingya displayed magnanimity and gave the opportunity to the other 3. However, a problem came. Yihua actually doesn't know how to ride on 2 wheels. This caused Qing Yutong to laugh out loud, and even Lu Jing laughed out loud. So it turns out that there are still things that Yihua doesn't know how to do. Yihua was very embarrassed. A dignified supreme overlord, an existence that would destroy an entire plane at the slightest provocation, actually doesn't know how to ride an electric scooter. After trying a few times, Yihua felt that it was better to give up. But now the problem was, who was Yihua going to sit behind? Qingya was still Qing Yutong, was still the empress. Qian Yuqing doesn't know how to ride an electric scooter either. Looking at the 3 women, in the end, Yihua still chose to sit behind his sister-in-law. Qing Yutong was very happy, and she even provoked her big sister, and the empress a bit. This caused Qingya and Donghuang Baiji to gnash their teeth in anger. This Qing Yutong, just you wait. Lu Jing looked at her son and daughter-in-law quarreling with each other, and felt very happy. After choosing, Qingya took out her phone and navigated to Shirley Art Gallery. I heard that that place is rather fun, and there are even delicious free-range chickens. Of course, whether or not it is free-range chickens, I don't know. This was the first time that Yihua rode on this kind of transportation tool, and it seemed a bit special. Especially when other men saw him. Their eyes seemed to be saying, to actually let a woman ride on you. You are simply not a man at all. Furthermore, it is such a beautiful woman. This is truly making one feel despair. There are also a lot of beautiful women at the side. Is this a concentration camp for beautiful women? They are definitely not together. Switch. Yihua had already hugged enough, and decided to switch to another hug. The surrounding men saw Yihua coming down from the carriage, then riding on another woman, and hugging onto another woman. She felt like killing someone. This shameless man was actually taking turns to hug her. He was simply goddamn. Let's go and eat first. Lu Jing said lightly. Yihua felt that it was fine. Let's go and eat first, then play. I heard that there are even hot air balloons and the like here. Although I am flying every day, hot air balloons are also quite romantic. Yihua decided to bring his wife to try it out later on. If not, people will always say that I, the supreme overlord, don't know how to be romantic. These women's requirements are simply too high. After walking into a shop that had a lot of people at the roadside, before they even entered the shop, an auntie ran over. Handsome guy, beautiful girl. Have you bought the tickets yet? I have cheap tickets here. Does Yihua look like someone who lacks money? That doesn't exist. However, the auntie was a bit persistent as she chased after Yihua and said, the tickets for this hot air balloon are the lowest in the entire venue. 80 yuan per person. Bring the lady up to experience it. There are also helicopters and so on. Do you need me to say it a second time? Yihua's temper immediately flared up, and his gaze turned cold. The auntie could feel that Yihua's gaze was not good, and immediately ran away. Under normal circumstances, Yihua wouldn't act like this, but he was a bit annoyed in his heart, and thus he wasn't able to control himself. Yihua, that's enough. It's not easy for others, just talk nicely. Lu Jing said in a low voice. Yihua didn't say anything and nodded his head. Mother's words are still useful. If it was Qingya's words, then I would have directly ignored it. This was the difference between a mother and a wife. Boss, do you want to eat something? A big sister ran over and asked with a smile. Do you have any signature dishes here? Yi Hua asked faintly while holding on to the menu. We have beer fish here. All of them are local fish. We also have lotus leaf chicken, bamboo tube chicken, etc. What do you want to order? Yi Hua was too lazy to look at the menu and said faintly, Give me a bit of all of them. This caused the lady boss to be a bit stupefied. How much is a bit? What if I give too much, and I'm not satisfied? Qingya took over the menu and said with a slight smile, Give me a serving of all of these signature dishes. The fish must have no bones. All right, please wait for a moment. The lady boss immediately went to prepare the dishes. Seeing that Yi Hua's expression wasn't very good, Qingya said tenderly, Yi Hua, since you are already out to play, just be happy. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, I understand. Chapter 1276. After taking out a stick of cigarette and lighting it up, Yi Hua leaned against the chair. His gaze was still a bit grave, not knowing why. I keep thinking about the curse of the palace master. However, upon thinking about the curse of the palace master, Yi Hua wished that he could scold himself. The curse of a defeated opponent. Why should I be afraid? Thinking about it, Yi Hua wasn't concerned about the curse of the palace master. Rather, he was concerned about the person who placed the curse on the palace master. After all, tens of thousands of years ago, the palace master knew that he was going to die and said those words before he died. Is it true or false? Is that fortune teller that awesome? Or could it be he is just bluffing? This made me a bit vexed. Originally, I wanted to use this trip to relax and not think about this problem, but I discovered that I am basically unable to get rid of this problem. Yi Hua, why is your expression so strange? Qian Yuqing asked worriedly. She discovered that Yi Hua's expression was a bit strange. Yi Hua shook his head, expressing that he is fine. How can I possibly be scared? That is something impossible. Lu Jing suddenly asked. Yi Hua, are you afraid of something? Along with Lu Jing's words, everyone went into a daze. In the eyes of Qingya and the others, would Yi Hua be afraid? Yi Hua is that kind of fellow who is not afraid of anything. The word afraid doesn't exist in his heart at all. Thus, they didn't think that Yi Hua was afraid. However, Yi Hua suddenly came to a realization. I am actually afraid. Yi Hua's breathing became a bit hurried. Why would I have such an emotion? I have felt afraid in the past, but that kind of fear was because I was afraid of losing them. The quarrel at the beginning was very vexing. But what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of death? Yi Hua wasn't afraid of death. When a person has someone to rely on, they wouldn't dare to easily die. Yi Hua was afraid of what would happen to his mother after he died, what would happen to Qingya and the others, what would happen to his children, and what would happen to his subordinates. However, Yi Hua didn't know what was going on in his mind, and was currently thinking about his own emotions. I feel that I am losing face. I am actually afraid. What the hell? The dishes are here, boss, enjoy slowly. The passionate lady boss could be seen serving the dishes. Qing Yutong obediently placed the bowls and chopsticks on the table. Yi Hua let out a sigh of relief and hurriedly threw away that feeling of fear. Afterward, I thought to myself, that doesn't exist. It's impossible for me to be afraid. Who else in this world can defeat me? This beer fish is not bad, Yi Hua, try it. Lu Jing picked up a piece of fish and passed it to her son. Yi Hua squeezed out a smile, a very ugly smile. Qingya and the others could clearly feel the change in Yi Hua, and they thought to themselves, this fellow, he can't be really afraid, right? Yi Hua noticed Qingya's gaze, and immediately glared at her. What is she thinking about? I, the Supreme Overlord, am not afraid. However, this beer fish is really not bad, and it doesn't have any bones, and it melts upon entering the mouth. Qing Yutong tore off a chicken drumstick and gave it to Yi Hua. Brother-in-law, this lotus leaf chicken is rather fragrant too. Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head. I have to let Blood Demon learn it. This beer fish soup mixed with rice is pretty good. Yi Hua, you should give it a try as well. It's really not bad. After speaking, Donghuang Baiji scooped some rice for Yihua, and she even poured some fish soup into the bowl and began stirring it. Yihua took the rice that the empress personally mixed with rice and tasted it. The taste is indeed not bad. Just now, I was still thinking of not eating it. In the end, scoop more rice for me. Yihua felt that the rice was really fragrant. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Yihua prepared to go and sit on a hot air balloon, ride on an electric scooter, and enjoy the cool breeze. It feels pretty good. Suddenly, a stench entered Yihua's nose, and even the body fragrance that was coming from his sister-in-law's body was unable to cover up the stench. Where did you two run to? Yihua, who was originally leaning on his sister-in-law's back, was about to fall asleep. This is a shortcut. This place seems to be a place for riding horses. This place is filled with horse dung. Qing Yutong held her breath. This place is so smelly. Yihua was also speechless. Why did you two want to take a shortcut so boring? Yihua immediately used Qing Yutong's clothes to cover his nose. This place smells so much better. Qing Yutong was also speechless. This brother-in-law. Only Yihua would be able to do such a thing. If another man were to try this, he would have long been scolded by his wife. The bumpiness of the road also began, and Yihua felt that he was going to vomit. Is this a vacation? Or is this a torture? I, the Supreme Overlord, really want to flatten this place to the ground. That way, the road wouldn't be so steep anymore. This electric scooter also doesn't have a good shockproof. It is shaking to the point that I am going to vomit. After lunch. After quite a while, the hot air balloon finally arrived, and there was even a glider at the side. Rumbling sounds could be heard coming from the air. Yihua stood at the side and his face was a bit pale. A dignified Supreme Overlord actually ended up like this because of an electric scooter. The main thing is that I ate too much, and that fish was basically eaten by Yihua. I will go and buy the tickets. Qian Yuqing smiled slightly, then ran to buy the tickets. After that, everyone walked into the venue. The problem came again. To actually make me, the Supreme Overlord, queue up. When did I, the Supreme Overlord, ever queue up? Recently, my temper hasn't been good. It's best if you don't make me queue up. If not, I will make you, this hot air balloon, explode. Yihua, sit down. I will give you a massage. Qingya said tenderly. She knew that Yihua was currently very angry, so she planned to use tenderness to let Yihua cool down. Yihua sat down helplessly and accepted Qingya's kind intentions. Qian Yuqing, who was at the side, even placed Yihua's legs onto her body and lightly massaged them. This kind of treatment made everyone at the side stupefied. Is this even possible? Lowering his head and looking at his body. Why is the difference between my legs and my girlfriend's legs so big? After waiting for around 40 minutes, Yihua brought along his mother and wife and walked into the venue. Afterward, Qingya and the others sat on the hot air balloon. Qingya and the others, on the other hand, were very happy. However, after ascending for less than a minute, Yihua felt that he was descending, and he immediately became unhappy. I have waited for 40 minutes painstakingly down there, yet you just let me stand here for 1 minute. Seeing that Yihua was about to flip out, the wives could only comfort Yihua. How big is this matter? Yihua is getting more and more calculative. Yihua rubbed his forehead, then walked down from the hot air balloon and said gravely, in the future, don't let me sit on this thing, trash. Lu Jing smiled helplessly after hearing this, and the other wives also shook their heads. His temper was really bad. Other than them, who else could stand it? Originally, Yihua still wanted to go and experience the glider that was at the side, but after thinking about it, if I wait for half an hour and stroll around on the glider for a few minutes, wouldn't I be making a huge loss? Isn't it great for me to fly up there and take a look? I don't even need to queue up. Let's go and take a look at the other things. Yihua said gravely and directly sat behind the empress. Because the car was rather short, and Yihua was rather tall, Yihua's sitting posture was rather funny. Chapter 1277. Afterward, everyone went to visit all of 10 Miles Art Gallery's scenic spots. Other than the ones that were queuing up, Yihua would turn around whenever he saw them. Qingya and the others blushed with shame. I might as well not come. This is truly vexing. Luckily, it wasn't the peak season for tourists, Most of them didn't need to queue up. However, Yihua discovered that, other than looking and looking, even after entering the karst cave twice, the feeling was still exactly the same. And his mother and wife were actually enjoying themselves, to the point that they even let me come and take a picture. Forget about taking a picture, but after taking a picture, they even said that my technique is really not that good. I just wanted to say that. If you have the ability, then turn off the beauty filter. Don't think that I didn't see it. Let's go to the West Street to eat, Yihua said gravely. Compared to looking, Yihua wanted to eat something more interesting. Qingye smiled and said, Yihua, you haven't tried the river snail rice noodles here, right? What is river snail rice noodles? Yihua asked puzzledly. This was the first time he heard of it. Qing Yutong laughed. Brother-in-law, you will know after you try it. Yihua nodded his head. Since it was recommended by them, it shouldn't be too bad. After arriving at the West Street, it was already 7 p.m. Yihua looked at the crowd in front of him, and suddenly thought of a movie that he watched a few years ago. Maybe Slayer Tyrant is a good person. If he disappeared, how good would that be? I suddenly don't want to go anymore. Yihua, let's go and print some clothes. Before Yihua could even react, Donghuang Baiji pulled Yihua and ran to the 3D printing shop at the side. Seeing the shop owner's enthusiastic recommendation, Qingye and the others immediately fell for it. Yihua really wanted to knock their heads. What fun is there in this? In the end, he still couldn't change his mother's mind and got a family photo printed on the shop. And all of them were changed originally. Yihua was wearing a shirt, but now, it became a short-sleeved shirt. Yihua didn't like this kind of feeling. It made me seem as if I wasn't calm enough. Looking at the surrounding ladies, the way they look at me is all weird. They are all too daring. How is my body something that you all can look up to? Handsome, let's take a picture together. Without waiting for Yihua to react, a lady at the side left. A few black lines appeared on Yihua's forehead. These women actually plagiarized my appearance without my consent. Who knew if these women would come out in the middle of the night with a photo of themselves and do something that would make people's hair stand on end? Just thinking about it makes me a little dizzy. Alright, don't be angry anymore. It's just a small matter. We aren't even jealous. Qingye laughed tenderly. Other people don't even have the time to laugh, and Yihua is actually still angry. When did I get angry? Don't talk nonsense. Okay. You're not angry. Let's go eat some noodles. Yihua nodded his head and decided to go and have a taste. After quite a while, Yihua looked at the bowl of river snail rice noodles in front of him, and a strange stench was being emitted out from it. Yihua's brows were already wrinkled very deeply. Lu Jing covered her mouth and chuckled. It was obvious that this was a prank. Yihua said gravely, Qingye, is this the delicacy that you were talking about? Yihua, this is the same principle as stinky tofu. Why don't you try it? It is actually very fragrant. Qingye laughed while covering her mouth. Yihua didn't believe that the stench of stinky tofu was different from this. This stinky tofu smelled just like sh*t. I don't have any appetite anymore. Yihua said gravely, then directly walked out of the restaurant. It doesn't matter whose face is anymore. Qingye was prepared to chase after Yihua, but Lu Jing stopped her. Let him walk by himself. Lu Jing said in a low voice. Yihua needed to be alone to calm down. Yihua indeed needed to be alone to calm down. My mind is a bit messy. I really want to find someone to talk to, but if I talk to my wife, it makes me seem like I am very weak. If I talk to my subordinates, it makes me, the boss, look like I am very weak. If I talk to my children, where would I, the supreme overlord as a father, have any face left? Handsome guy, our bar is having a discount today, and there is even a famous DJ. A sexy lady said towards Yihua. Her eyes were filled with admiration. Such a handsome man. Yihua turned his head and looked towards the bar at the side. The bar was very noisy. Yihua didn't like this kind of bar. Yihua liked a quiet bar. Under the lady's deathly gaze, Yihua walked away. Yihua, who was walking within the crowd, was still so eye-catching. Along the way, there were a lot of ladies who tried to strike up a conversation with him, but Yihua just had a scowl on his face, not giving any face to anyone. Fortune-telling. Suddenly, A voice made Yihua stop his footsteps and look towards an old man who was at a corner at the side. The old man's face was yellow and wrinkled, wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night, not placing a signboard beside him, and not even having a book. Truly incompetent. I have never believed in scammers like you. If I were to believe in scammers like you, then I would be an idiot. Handsome guy, isn't this fortune-telling? Yihua stopped his footsteps once again, then looked towards the fortune teller and said coldly, "Are you able to tell my fortune?" Of course. Yihua didn't like arrogant people, thus, he decided to properly teach this scammer a lesson. "Tell me then. Tell me about my troubles." Yihua sat on a small stool opposite of the fortune teller. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of the fortune teller's mouth. "Handsome guy, you are afraid in your heart." Hearing that, Yihua's face sunk. "Who are you?" "Seems like my fortune telling is correct," the fortune teller muttered. Yihua stretched out his hand and waved it in front of the fortune teller's eyes. "Handsome guy, my eyes are blind but my heart is not blind." Yihua didn't say anything and continued asking, "Do you think that I will die?" "All living beings in the world will die one day, no matter who it is. They will not be able to escape from the cycle of reincarnation." "Didn't you die once already?" Yihua's expression stiffened. Then killing intent emerged from his body. He stretched out his hand and tried to grab the fortune teller. However, what he grabbed was the air. "Yihua, we will meet again. You often give people choices. When the time comes, I will also give you a choice." After finished speaking, the fortune teller disappeared. Yihua shook his head. "I am actually sitting at the entrance of a shop. Just now I was too careless. This damned fortune teller. He actually entered when I was feeling guilty and uneasy. And he actually dares to boast shamelessly and let me choose. Only a child would make a choice." Yihua took a deep breath, took a look at the bar at the side, then walked into the bar. Perhaps only a sound that is a bit more stimulating would be able to make me sober up. Tonight's bill will be paid by young Master Yi. Following the DJ's shout, the crowd applauded. Yihua looked at the crowd silently, then shouted out, "Wife, come over and pay the bill." "Chinya. I am acting cool outside, and in the end, I still have to let my wife pay the bill." Chapter 1278. Knowing that Yihua wasn't in a good mood, the wives were magnanimous and personally accompanied Yihua to play with him. Yihua felt that it was quite effective for me to pretend to be depressed. Needless to say, what a sensible wife. Not bad, not bad. I, the Supreme Overlord, am very gratified right now. In the next few days, Yihua went to visit Lu Sanjia. I feel that Lu Sanjia's place is pretty good, just that, there are a lot of people in Lu Sanjia's place. Luckily, I booked the best ticket. I can sit at the top and watch the show. Not bad, not bad. Of course, there was also the bamboo raft. Although all of the bamboo rafts are automatic right now and are no longer manually operated like in the past, but the mountain that is at the side looks pretty good. Feeling the breeze and leaning on my fragrant wife. This is the life of an immortal. This kind of life passed quickly. Lu Jing had originally planned to stay here for a long time, but Gong Yu was pregnant, and he wanted to go back to take care of her. Yihua could also tell that his mother wasn't in the mood to travel. After playing for 4 days, everyone returned to Wushu Empire. As soon as Lu Jing returned to the palace, she went to see Gong Yu, and so did Qingya. The treatment of pregnant women was indeed different. Gong Yu didn't expect that after she was pregnant, even her mother would be so attentive. She felt grateful for her mother. Yihua, on the other hand, was planning to move on to the next step of his plan, which was to complete the unfinished legendary weapon plan. Previously, because of what happened to his subordinates, he had stopped working on it. Now it had to be reopened. After all, the days were a bit boring. In actuality, Yihua also wanted to give himself a guarantee. That fortune teller's strength doesn't seem to be weak, to the extent that he was able to run away from me. Although at that time, the fortune teller was only an afterimage, but at least the fortune teller was not discovered by me. Seems like this fortune teller is hiding in a corner, observing the main body. But so what? I still don't dare to show my face. This lousy fellow only knows how to hide in a corner and draw circles to curse me. What other abilities does he have? If he really had the ability, he would have already come out to fight me to the death. And you still dare to say that you want me to choose? Choose your sister. I, the Supreme Overlord, will only let others choose. I will never make my own choice. In order to obtain the detailed construction data, Yihua even made a trip to the God's realm to look for the current emperor of the demonic city. Jing Tian didn't expect that this man would appear again, and he was still afraid of Yihua. However, after hearing the reason why Yihua came, he still let out a breath of relief. However, Jing Tian did not dare to hide the details of the legendary weapon's creation, and told him all the details. He even said that he would gift his parting fire to Yihua. However, Yihua rejected it fiercely. Are you looking down on me? Do you think that I, the Supreme Overlord, am unable to forge a legendary weapon? You are truly thinking too much. I want to create an existence that is even more powerful than a legendary weapon. Yihua had stayed in Demonic City for at least a month, and he had absorbed a lot of experience in forging legendary weapons. He just had to go back and operate it. However, the problem was that the materials had not been found yet. All of his subordinates had been sent out to search for the materials. The progress was still very slow, and it would take at least 10 years to complete. Yihua stood in front of the palace and looked at the sky above Wushu Empire with a slightly worried look on his face. Being invincible is truly lonely. He missed the days of the little skeleton and how dangerous those days were. What are you thinking about? Qian Yuqing hugged onto Yihua's back and lightly leaned onto Yihua's tiger back. Yihua looked at the night sky and said faintly, "Sometimes, I feel that it's really boring." Why do you suddenly have such a thought? Feel it. Qian Yuqing said tenderly, "Yihua, back then, Qingya brought me to your bar, and she even said that, from now on, we will be staying in the bar." That's right, the bar is indeed a quiet place, and there are a lot of memories in there. Compared to the past, the memories in the bar are even more profound. Qian Yuqing lightly rubbed onto Yihua's back. Then, from now on, we will be staying there, and I will peel crayfish for you. And, did Qingya tell you that? Yihua laughed lightly. Peeling crayfish had now become a joke that they would only see every day. And, Qingya and Baiji also talked about a lot of things. I feel that it would be great if I was also there during those few years. I have missed out on too much. Qian Yuqing said gloomily while pouting her small mouth. Yihua turned around and lightly hugged onto Qian Yuqing. In the future, you will not miss out on those things anymore. You are the one who said it. If you go back on your words, I will teach you a lesson, he. Yihua pinched onto Qian Yuqing's cheeks. Let's go, the party has just begun. Today was Chinese New Year's Eve, and Yihua gathered all of his subordinates. Of course, other than those who were out for training, none of them were present. This was already a tradition. On Chinese New Year's Eve, everyone would have a reunion dinner together, and then have fun, celebrate, and be happy. Your Honor, you went to the toilet for so long. Could it be that you went to play with your wife? Lai Gu seemed to have already drunk a lot, and his mouth was starting to talk nonsense. As Yihua's mount, only Lai Gu would dare to tease Yihua like this. Under this kind of atmosphere, Yihua didn't really mind. He hugged onto Qian Yuqing who was beside him and said with a smile, "That's right, I am very happy." After finished speaking, Yihua even kissed onto Qian Yuqing who was blushing. It was very clear that Qian Yuqing still wasn't used to this kind of environment, but Qingya and the others were already used to it. Blood Demon, who was acting as the cameraman, was currently recording everyone's happiness. Your Honor, how about singing a song for us? Lai Gu had a lot of ideas, and he had never heard his honor sing in the past. At this moment, Pig Liver Dinglong also suggested, how about letting his honor sing a song with your wife? Alright, this suggestion is not bad. All of Lai Gu's subordinates began cheering. Yihua gave Lai Gu a doom eyes. Brat, just you wait. Yihua wasn't someone who would spoil the mood. Isn't it just singing? If I, the Supreme Overlord, were to sing, I would definitely shock everyone. As a celebrity, it was not difficult for Qing Yutong to sing. Qing Yutong's singing was one of the best. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji aren't bad either. After all, beauties with beautiful voices wouldn't be bad at singing. At this time, Qing Yutong asked in a low voice, Brother-in-law, what song do you know how to sing? Then let's play a song Luggers love. Yihua said faintly. After Qingya and the others heard what Yihua said, they were all speechless. However, since Yihua likes it, then let him do it. When the subordinates heard that His Honor was actually going to sing the song, The Love of the Hauled Man, all of them became very excited. It's a pity that there are still some people who are not here. If not, it would be perfect. Your Honor is handsome. Your Honor is mighty. Your Honor, I'm your little fangirl. These words were said by Kai Yun, and he was even shaking the glow stick in his hand. Yihua's feeling came, along with the lyrics of the first sentence. His voice broke. The scene was a bit awkward. All of Lai Gu's subordinates were stupefied for a moment, then began praising His Honor for singing well, and all kinds of flattery, causing the atmosphere to become even more awkward. Chapter 1279. However, the main point wasn't whether His Honor sang well or not, rather, being able to listen to His Honor's voice while standing on top of the stage, that was already an unparalleled honor. Who cares if His Honor sang well or not? Although Yihua was very out of tune, he still managed to finish singing the song. His spirit of singing received the applause of his subordinates. Everyone had a thought in their minds. In the future, I better not let His Honor sing anymore. This is too scary. I might as well just dance awkwardly with His Honor. However, Yihua didn't seem to be satisfied and said faintly, I, the Supreme Overlord, sing another song save. Everyone. His Honor, if you were to sing this song, then your subordinates would need to be saved. This is definitely not a joke. Yihua didn't know what his subordinates were thinking, and immediately started singing. A few minutes later, seeing that His Honor walked down from the stage, everyone let out a sigh of relief and clapped until their hands turned red. Does it sound good? Yihua asked Qingya. The corner of Qingya's mouth twitched. Good, good, this is truly great. How about letting Yutong teach you? Yihua's face sunk. Qingya, are you saying that I, the Supreme Overlord, need someone to teach me if I don't sing well? How is that possible? Brother-in-law's singing skills are super great. Qing Yutong immediately smiled. Qingya shook her head. You all can just spoil him. Afterward, each of the subordinates went to sing a song. For example, Wei Chong. He actually started singing a song about love. Not bad. Yihua felt that he was a bit lacking compared to me. Zishan was also singing a song of longing. She was definitely thinking about Yihong. I have already been away for half a year. This kind of experience isn't something that can be accomplished in 1 or 2 years. It should be at least 10 years. However, when Death Mage went up to sing, the entire place immediately quietened down. Seriously, if you want to laugh, you have to be unable to hold it in. However, looking at Death Mage being so affectionate, if you were to laugh, it would be a bit impolite. However, Yi Zizi was the first one to laugh. Following Yi Zizi's laughter, the others finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Is it possible for a skeleton to not laugh when he sings with Jijiji, unless his face is stiff? At 12 o'clock, everyone arrived outside of the palace. When midnight arrived, beautiful fireworks blossomed in the sky of the entire Voidless Empire. In the past, there was no tradition of celebrating Chinese New Year, but from this year onwards, there was a tradition of celebrating Chinese New Year. Looking at the fireworks in the sky, a trace of a smile could be seen on the corner of Yihua's mouth. My New Year's wish is that I hope that the entire guild can be happy and enjoy the joys of life, and let all of the enemies go to hell. 1 year after another. Time passed by in a hurry, but to people who learn martial arts, 12 years passed by very quickly. During these 12 years, everything was calm and peaceful. No one stirred up any trouble. Yihua had almost forgotten about the guardians. There was still that fortune teller who was researching on how to forge legendary weapons every single day. As a man, it was important to have his own interests and hobbies. However, the people who went out to train have yet to return. However, Yihua found out from Zhu Tian's mouth that those people were very strong right now, and that they would be returning soon. However, within the entire team, a young man also appeared. That was Gong Yu's child, Yi from this name. It could be seen that Gong Yu seemed to have let go of a lot of things. Maybe Gong Yu was also apologizing for the things that happened in the past. At that time, She had framed Yi too much. Yi was an obedient boy. Although he was only 12 years old, his achievements were extraordinary. At such a young age, he had already surpassed his mother's strength, and his looks were also inherited from his father and mother. In the future, he would definitely be a very handsome person. Ever since Yi was born, he had never seen his father. He had only seen his big uncle, big aunt, grandma, and big uncle's subordinates. However, the person that Yi wanted to see the most was his father. Just that right now, his father had yet to return home. But hearing that his father was going to return home soon, Yi was very happy. I heard that I still have cousin brother and cousin sister, but I have never seen them before. My mother said that when they were very young, they were sent away by big uncle. Compared to my cousin brother and cousin sister, I am really lucky to be able to grow up by my mother's side. In actuality, Yihua was planning to send Yi away. Gongyu had no choice and was unable to stop him, but Lu Jing was firmly against it. How can all the children be sent away? Yihua was unable to change his mother's mind and could only compromise. However, after so many years, other than Gongyu who gave birth to a child, the others did not have any reaction at all. For example, Zhu Tian and Brett, no matter what, they were unable to get a child. It was not only the two of them. Even Yihua and Qian Yuqing were unable to get pregnant. This caused Yihua to be very shocked. It must be that fortune teller who cursed me. Back then, I gave birth to one child at a time. And now, I actually caused my wife to be unable to get pregnant. As a man, this is a shameful action. Even if Qing Su concocted medicine, he would not be able to solve the problem of population growth. Qian Yuqing was naturally very depressed. Why can't I get pregnant? At first, I thought that it was because of me, and I was very worried, afraid that Yihua would not like me. After all, a woman not being able to give birth to a man's child, this is very hard to accept. However, later on, she found out that Qing Yutong was also unable to get pregnant. Finally, she felt relieved. It is not my problem, it is Yihua's problem. However, she did not dare to say such words. In the past, Qing Yutong did not want to have a child, and now that she wanted to have a child, she was unable to get pregnant. This caused Qing Yutong to be depressed every day. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's consolation did not work. Right now, Yihua felt that he had to solve this pregnancy problem. Why is it that the entire party is unable to get pregnant? This shouldn't be a curse, it should be a problem with feng shui. Should I change a place to give birth? For example, go to a bar? After all, Ali and the others were all born in a bar. Yihua tried it, but in the end it was still useless. Seems like I, the Supreme Overlord, have to go and take a look at the andrology department. After 12 years of development, Wushu Empire was no longer that small empire in the past, and it had already expanded by a few times. If one were to walk through the entire Wushu Empire, it would take at least a month. From this, it could be seen just how big Wushu Empire was. Yihua also brought his own ideology into the empire, the coexistence of humans and other races. Although there were conflicts in the beginning, no one dared to go against Yihua. After all, no one wanted to go to the execution ground. With such a forceful method, the people from other races moved into the empire. It could be discovered that the humans were actually afraid of the other races, and the other races were also afraid of the humans, afraid that the other party would harm them. This kind of situation continued for a year, and after that, the situation became a lot better, and the humans were no longer that afraid of the other party. However, the people from other races didn't live separately, and Yihua considered that it was not realistic. Thus, he divided a piece of land for the people from other races to live in. All in all, the current situation was a good one. What was worth celebrating was that 1 year ago, a human male got married to a woman from another race. Chapter 1280. This caused a sensation in the entire Wushu Empire, and even Yihua was shocked. He personally attended the wedding and advocated for this method. He wanted to encourage, support, and even provide subsidies. The cost of the children's growth would all be borne by Wushu Empire. When this news came out, it indeed encouraged a lot of humans. However, there were some females of different races that were really hard to get along with. For example, the ox-head woman, her entire body was covered with brown fur, and no matter how beautiful she was, she still had horns on her head. This was an extremely challenging thing. Even with all kinds of benefits, there were very few who were able to get along with one another, and there was only one pair right now. To this man, other people were very envious of him. After all, he was marrying a fox. Although the fox's ears were furry, that only added to the cute atmosphere. Furthermore, no matter how bad the fox race was, the females were all beauties. Of course, the prerequisite was that you had to endure the fox odor. However, with Wushu Empire's strength, solving this problem was a piece of cake. Yihua even directly gave the order to help the fox race get rid of the fox odor for free. This was another benefit. Right now there were still people who were dating, but they had not reached the stage of marriage. After all, this required time to get used to each other. Human ladies liked handsome men too, and the fox race was full of handsome men too. Human men liked beautiful women too, and the fox race was the best choice. Actually, in the human world, the fox race was more like slaves, and they could be bought with money. Those who were rich all liked this type of people. The fox race naturally knew this point as well. In the process of interacting with humans, they were also very careful. If not for the emperor's decree, they wouldn't even dare to interact with humans. What Yihua gave was the female protection law. As long as the evidence was conclusive, the person who molested a woman would be directly beheaded. Knowing how ruthless the emperor was, no one dared to touch a woman, not even dared to use their hands. If they were to touch a woman, they would immediately die. This made the unmarried women of Wushu Empire clap their hands. To them, Wushu Empire was like a paradise. In this place, they did not need to fear the nobles, and they also did not need to fear their enemies. This kind of feeling was super good. Yihua also advocated it. However, the evil Lai Gu was thinking, is it really good for humans and beasts to be together? Dong dong dong. Within Wushu Empire's palace, the sound of smithing rang out in the emperor's bedroom. This sound had already rang out for 12 years, and the people in the palace were already used to it. The emperor had a hobby, and that was smithing. The children are finally coming back, Qingya said excitedly. After 12 years, Qingya had changed a little. This change wasn't because she had become old, rather, she had become more mature. Her temperament and aura had also become very powerful. Right now, ordinary people wouldn't even dare to look straight into Qingya's eyes. Donghuang Baiji, who was sitting on the opposite side, revealed a smile on her face as well. That's right, it has been 12 years. Looking at the time, Ali should be 20 years old now, right? She should be a big girl now. The empress was getting more and more beautiful. As expected, time could make a woman even more charming. For the past 12 years, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji really didn't even take a single look at the children. Of course, this was all because Yihua didn't allow them to do so, and the reason that Yihua gave them was very weird. Are you curious about what the children will be like after 12 years? Anyway, a few years have passed, so just bear with it. Every single time, Yihua would always use this sort of excuse, angering Qingya, Donghuang Baiji, and Yihua to sleep on separate beds. To be honest, even Yihua was curious about what the children had become. If it was possible, Yihua would be able to see the children at any time. However, Yihua didn't do that. In fact, he didn't even go and inquire about the children's whereabouts. Lu Jing had already told Yihua many times. How can there be a father like you? Not seeing your children for more than 10 years? Towards the issue of children, Yihua was very persistent. I wonder what Yan'er has become. Qing Yutong supported her chin with both of her hands. Although a smile could be seen on the corner of her mouth, a hint of hesitation could be seen in the depth of her gaze. Qing Yutong calculated her age. I am already 30+ years old. I also want to have a child. Back then, I wanted to play around more, but now that I want to have a child, I am unable to give birth to a child. After 12 years, Qing Yutong had lost her immaturity, and she had become much more mature. She was no longer like how she was in the past. Back then, she was just like a crazy girl. Qian Yu Qingmin, who was at the side, let out a light sigh as she drank her tea. The question in her mind was the same as Qing Yutong. I am so envious of Qingye and Baiji for having a son and a daughter with Yihua. Donghuang Baiji laughed. I am rather curious, did God Ye's personality change a little? That's right, there is also Lu Er's personality. Qingye was a bit worried. Yi Lu's personality is pretty much the same as God Ye's. The two ice lumps definitely inherited Yi Hua's personality. Yi Yan is much better, and of course, there is also Ali. As long as I think that I will be able to see my children very soon, my heart will become extremely excited. They are already taller than me right now. Qingye stood up and gestured with a motherly radiance on the corner of her mouth. Qing Yutong and Qianyu Qingmin were about to die of depression. These two freaks who are showing off their children. These few days they have been talking about their children this and that. What are the two of us who are unable to get pregnant going to do? Donghuang Baiji said lightly, look at this fellow, he doesn't seem to mind at all. He only knows how to forge iron every day. He might as well just sleep together with iron. He doesn't want to sleep together with us. Men, especially Yihua, don't seem to know how to express their feelings. In actuality, the longing in his heart was not any less than Qingye and Baiji. After all, they were all his children. Right now, Yihua was currently hammering a piece of black-colored iron sheet. Judging from the degree of hardness, this piece of iron sheet was not an ordinary iron sheet. After all, for Yihua to be able to be hammered by the black-colored iron sheet and not break it, it was sufficient to prove that the black-colored iron sheet wasn't broken. Yihua appeared to be very focused, and also appeared to be very careful. This piece of metal is pure gold. In actuality, the degree of hardness of the pure gold was not that exaggerated. On the contrary, the pure gold was very fragile. If one did not control the pure gold properly, the pure gold would break. However, if one did not have enough strength, the pure gold would not be able to form the pure gold. This was the difficult part. Controlling one's own strength. To Yihua, this was not an easy thing to do. Thus, tiny beads of sweat could be seen appearing on Yihua's forehead. This piece of pure gold had already been forged for 5 years, and right now, the appearance of the pure gold had already reached the level that Yihua desired. It was a saber, but it was not an ordinary saber. The body of the saber was slender and much longer than the average saber, reaching a meter long. If the handle was added, it would be at least 1.2 meters long. In the future, when the heavenly flame was added, the color would change. This was also the most difficult step. This was because there was only one chance. If he failed, he might not be able to find the materials in a short period of time. Suddenly Yihua stopped. Your Honor. Zhu Tian knelt at the side and shouted out respectfully. Yihua said gravely. Zhu Tian, when I am forging, I need to concentrate. Subordinate was rash. Zhu Tian said apologetically. Chapter 1281. Yihua put down the hammer in his hand. However, when the hammer landed on the ground shook a bit. The trainees are coming back? Yihua asked faintly. In actuality, everyone knew about the situation of the people who went out to train. Right now, Yihua's improvement was very big, and he did not go out for nothing for the past 10+ years. It's just that Xiao Tian had lost an arm, and of course he had to pay the price in order to save someone. Yihua had a whole new level of respect for this little brother of his. The current Yi Juetian is calm and reserved, completely different from the previous Yi Juetian. This is a real man. There was responsibility. There was a sense of responsibility. Yi Juetian was the leader of that group of people who were going to train. Yihua was very gratified. My little brother has finally grown up. As for my broken arm, I can still think of a way to deal with it. No, it's just that little Honor and the others are preparing to have a competition. Is your Honor interested in going over to take a look? Spar. Yihua asked curiously. Zhu Tian nodded his head. That's right. From the reports, it seems that it will be a contest between the Meridian Breaking Sect and the Deity Institution. Little Senior is the representative of both sides, and also the trump card of both sides. I believe that Little Senior and the others will be able to encounter each other. After hearing that, Yihua became silent. The competition between the children seems to be a bit interesting. It is worth going to take a look at it. After so many years, I also want to see what they have learned. Originally, Yihua was still planning to hold a grand ceremony to welcome the children, but right now, the competition between the children seemed to be very important as well. From the looks of it, I have to change my plans. Alright, I understand. Yihua said faintly. Zhu Tian said lightly, Your Honor, subordinates also wish to go and take a look at little His Honor. Yihua laughed. These subordinates who like to watch a good show. Approved. Zhu Tian was delighted. Thank you, Your Honor. You may leave. Yes. After Zhu Tian left, Yihua walked to the side and fetched a basin of water. After wiping the filth on his face and washing his hands, Yihua walked out of the bathroom. Seeing that the 4 women were sitting in the pavilion and chatting, Yihua walked towards his wives. However, Qingye and the others snorted, then turned their heads away, indicating that they were angry and didn't want to pay attention to us. Looking at the reactions of his wives, Yihua wanted to laugh as well. To think that I am still a child, I am already an old woman. Pour me a cup of water. Yihua said faintly. However, the 4 women did not have any reaction. Each of them had their own anger. Just like Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing, they were angry that Yihua could not give them a child. In the past few months, Yihua had already gotten used to the reactions of these women. In the beginning, Yihua would still be angry, but now, all of them no longer have any reactions. It's precisely because he was spoiled by me that he's very arrogant right now. Now only Daji was slightly better, but Daji's current mission was to take care of her mother. Do you want to go see your child? Yihua asked faintly. Sure enough, upon hearing what Yihua said, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji immediately became spirited. Turning their head around, they looked towards Yihua and asked excitedly, We can go and see the children now? Really? You're not lying to us? Trying to amuse us? Pour me a cup of tea. Yihua said faintly. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji, one was holding a cup, and the other was holding a teapot. Yihua sat at the side and drank a mouthful of tea, then said, Let's go and fetch the children back together, and take a look at their achievements in the past few years. Achievement? Donghuang Baiji asked in confusion. Yihua nodded his head. That's right. Just now, according to absolute heaven's intelligence, the children represent 2 powers, and they are going to fight. How can this be? They are brothers and sisters. How can they fight like this? Qingye immediately became unwilling. How can I let the children fight against each other? This is too outrageous. Yihua said faintly, It's nothing, let's go and take a look. If I am not satisfied, I can go and continue exiling them to another place. Yihua, you two tidy up a bit, then we will set off. Yihua said faintly. Right now I finally understand a principle. When a husband and wife are together for a long time, their love will turn into familial love, and they will no longer have the passion that they had in the past. Could it be that I, the Supreme Overlord, am getting old? Or could it be that I, the Supreme Overlord, am getting old? How is that possible? That doesn't exist. After Yihua left, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were still a bit absent-minded. After so many years, to suddenly hear that they could go and see the children, they felt like they were dreaming. Yutong, just now your brother-in-law said that we are going to fetch the children. Is that true? Qing Yutong nodded her head, and a smile finally appeared on her face. Qing Yutong was happy for her big sister. 12 years isn't long, but it isn't short either. Big sister and Baiji have endured for so long. This is great, Baiji. That's right. Donghuang Baiji cried tears of joy. My Ali and Shen, both of them are like flesh that fell from my body. When I was at home, I felt that they were too noisy, but when I was not at home, I missed them so much. Right now, Donghuang Baiji was thinking in her heart, Ali should be very beautiful, right? When I left home, she was only 8 years old, and now she is already 20 years old. And also Shen and the others, they are already 16 years old now. And they are also men now. I wonder if they have found a girlfriend or not. Mother is really worried about them. What Donghuang Baiji was thinking in her heart was also what Qingye was thinking in her heart. Yi Yan is still alright, boys won't be at a disadvantage, but I'm afraid that Yi Lu. If she were to meet a boy like Yihua, who knows how to talk and is also fickle. That would be troublesome, and she would definitely be at a disadvantage. In the future, when Yi Lu is by my side, I have to properly talk to her. Don't ever believe in a man's mouth. Your mother is someone who has been through it. I have experience. Very quickly, Yi Hua came out of the house after changing into a set of clean clothes. It was still that black robe that he was wearing, which was simple yet dignified. As for the wives, they dressed up properly. After all, they were going to meet the children soon, and it was time for them to dress up. Yi Hua, let's go. Qingye held onto Yi Hua's arm and said happily. If Yi Hua didn't remember wrongly, it had already been 4 months since Qingye last acted intimately towards him. As expected, it is still because of the children. Even Donghuang Baiji is the same. Looking at my sister-in-law and Qian Yuqing, I have already gone to the registration and have them checked, and there are no problems at all. In the end, it is still me who is blaming myself for not being able to give birth to the children. What else can I do? In the entire team, I am not the only one who is unable to conceive. In the past, Qian Yuqing was so obedient, but right now, she has also been led astray by Yutong and learned to get angry at me. Wait. Yi Hua said faintly. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's expression immediately changed. Yi Hua, are you trying to make us happy? Let me tell you, if you were to make fun of us today, we would have run away from home. If I remember correctly, I have already said this 328 times, but every single time, I did not run away from home, and every single time, I would return to my room and cry. Women cannot be spoiled. If I were to spoil them, they would have a problem. Waiting for someone. Right now, Yi Hua already had antibodies against them. No matter how unreasonable they are, I, the Supreme Overlord, will have this reaction. Waiting for someone? Donghuang Baiji asked puzzledly. However, right after Donghuang Baiji finished speaking, over 10 people instantly appeared behind Yi Hua. Chapter 1282. Even the guardian Ren Yao is here. Seems like she is interested in Yi Hua's children as well. When Qingye and the others saw that all of Yi Hua's subordinates had arrived, they all went into a daze. Donghuang Baiji felt that Yi Hua wanted to be ostentatious. After all, he is going to pick up his children. Subordinate pays respect to his honor and madams. All of the subordinates shouted out respectfully. Yi Hua lightly raised his hand. Get up. Remember one thing, we are only going there to be spectators. As for other things, there is no need for us to do anything else, understand? Subordinate understands. Thinking about it, this was the first time that all of Yi Hua's subordinates were going out after gathering the 7 deadly sins. However, they were not going to eliminate the enemies, they were going to see the children. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji did not say anything. Right now they only wanted to see the children. Everything else could be put aside. Just now, when Lu Jing heard that her grandson and granddaughter were coming back, she was extremely excited. I can finally see Yi Hua's children. I am so happy. In the south, today was an important day, and that day was the battle between 2 big powers. To put it nicely, it was to exchange feelings, but in reality, it was just to see which side students were more powerful. For Meridian Break Sect, they had 2 trump cards, and that was Donghuang Li and God Yi. For Shen Academy, they had 2 trump cards, and that was Yi Yan and Yi Lu. Actually, in the past few years, everyone knew that both sides had such trump cards, and they wanted to see just who was more powerful in the battle between the trump cards. However, today the battle finally happened. In the past, it was just a small fight, but this time, it was for real. The battle between the 2 top powers shook the entire south, and even the top experts from the north came to watch. After all, the participants from both sides were really exciting. Everyone said that these few youngsters would surpass the Dozun realm in the future, which made everyone excited. The battle this time was also organized by the chairman, and some people even said that the stingy chairman actually went all out this time, to actually make it so grand. In the south, there was a valley called Maple Forest Valley. During this season, the entire valley looked as if it was bathed in gold, and it was not an exaggeration to say that there were 10 miles of maple trees. However, the venue this time was a little special. There were no buildings, not even an arena. This made many people feel that the chairman was as stingy as ever. But in fact, in order to settle this Maple Forest Valley, the chairman had already put in a lot of effort. This valley wasn't without a master. It was the territory of a supreme martial artist. Moreover, this was planted by a supreme being. If they were to fight, one could well imagine the consequences. But the chairman still gave him a lot of delicious food. Actually, even if he didn't give them any benefits, this supreme being would still give them some. That was because this supreme being also wanted to see for himself whether or not those youngsters were as powerful as the rumors said. At this moment in Maple Forest Valley, two figures seemed to be chatting about something. One was a woman, and the other was a man. Both of them were wearing the white robes of the Broken Meridian sect. In that case, he must be someone from the Meridian Breaking sect. The young man was a head taller than the girl, but this did not mean that the girl was short. On the contrary, the girl was very tall. Her skin was as white as snow, and if she stood under the sun, she would definitely be able to reflect the light. Her nose bridge was elegant, and her cherry lips were like drops of water. Her beautiful appearance would cause men to daydream. Her pair of beautiful eyes exuded. It wasn't that she wasn't beautiful, but rather, it gave people a feeling that they were going to be cheated. However, the boy standing in front of her had a cold expression on his face. His tall and straight figure caused the girl to be dazzled. If one were to see that face again, they would immediately be intoxicated. So cold, so handsome, so character. However, in the depths of the boy's eyes, there was actually nervousness. That's right, these two were the grown-up Donghuang Li and God Yi. Even if Yi Hua and the Empress saw them, they wouldn't be able to recognize them at all. This change was simply too big. They were completely two different people compared to when they were young. Especially God Yi, his facial features were a combination of his parents, but he looked more like Donghuang Baiji, while Donghuang Li looked more like Yi Hua. The two's appearance was off the charts. In the Broken Meridian sect, they were the class representatives of appearance. Especially God Yi. A lot of girls gave up on the God of Gods Academy just to get close to their Adonis, God Yi. This also caused the number of females in the Broken Meridian sect to double in recent years, and the ratio had already reached 3:7. Don't you think it's terrifying? The Broken Meridian sect was about to become a female academy. That gave faction master Changhan a headache. These girls were only interested in chasing after men. As long as God Yi was around, there would definitely be screams. Even if God Yi was in class, the surroundings would be filled with people. There were even some senior sisters who wanted to take advantage of the younger generation and use their status to oppress others. In an instant, thousands of girls objected to the oppression. God Yi did not belong to an individual, but to all girls. However, that made God Yi depressed, especially when he was taking a bath. He had to take special precautions, as girls would rush in if he was even slightly careless. God Yi had not forgotten that those dozen or so girls seemed to want to eat him up, and even took away all his clothes. If he could take away his body, that might be the case. In the end, God Yi had no choice but to tell the faction master about it. After Changhan found out, he ordered that anyone who peeked at God Yi taking a bath would be expelled from the sect. Sure enough, in order to be with their Adonis for a long time, the girls became reserved, but that was only because they did not act impulsively. If they acted impulsively, they would end up in a group fight. God Yi had two major fan groups. The fights had reached more than 30 times, and the most serious one had the children's clothes torn by the other party. It was a feast for the eyes of the boys in the sect. What they wanted to see the most was these girls fighting, pulling hair, scratching face, and even tearing clothes. It was too exciting. However, the reason for the fights was very strange. For example, God Yi's clothes were raided. However, as long as there was a disagreement, they would fight. The strangest one was whether God Yi took a dump or not. If God Yi knew that there were people peeking at him even when he took a dump, he would want to die. However, when he thought that the mission was about to be completed, he would be able to go back and get rid of those girls. Sis, do you think Mom and Dad will come? God Yi said faintly, holding a yellow leaf in his hand, his face filled with longing. Dong Huangli chuckled, then reached out to pinch God Yi's face. God Yi subconsciously took a step back. Dong Huangli's face sank, and God Yi obediently took a step forward. Dong Huangli pinched God Yi's face. Brother, don't change the topic. Have you gotten your girlfriend yet? If Dad saw that you didn't find a girlfriend, he would be so disappointed. The last time Qing Yutong and the others came over, God Yi mistakenly thought that his father had a new order to bring his girlfriend home. Now that the time was almost up, God Yi became anxious. Chapter 1283. Letting his father down was something God Yi did not want to see. Anything was fine, but he must not let his father down. Qing Yutong might not know, but this nephew of hers was completely swindling him. I think that Lu Xian is actually pretty good. It's a pity that no one else is interested in you. You've been courting her for half a year, but you can't even say 10 sentences to her. Brother, how straight do you have to be? I don't expect you to kiss her, but holding her hand is good enough. You haven't inherited Dad's flirting skills at all. Dong Huangli said a whole bunch of things. Dong Huangli is simply like a demon that harms her younger brother. Truth be told, Dong Huangli was just playing along with God Ye's plan. With God Ye's personality, it would definitely be impossible for him to chase after a girl, unless it was her father's order. Right now, God Ye already has a girl that he likes, so he should just chase after her. In fact, God Ye had already started pursuing Lu Xianer half a year ago. It could not be helped since it was a task given by his father. However, even if it was a task, he had to pick someone who was presentable, so he chose Lu Xianer. Lu Xianer was also a great beauty that was on par with Dong Huangli, and her strength was also very good. The most important thing was that her senior sister was the same age as Dong Huangli, 20 years old this year. It was God Ye's first time seeing someone else. He immediately said, "Woman, be my wife." Such a tone was simply like that of a domineering CEO. Unfortunately, the other person directly said, "Sorry, I don't like little boys." With that, he turned around and left. That stunned God Ye on the spot. He was the son of a supreme paragon, and yet he was rejected today. If word of this were to reach his father's ears, what face would he have left? He would die of shame. However, this matter was immediately known by Dong Huangli, because Dong Huangli and Lu Xian were living together. After such a thing happened, Lu Xianer naturally told her good friend Dong Huangli about it. Your brother must be crazy. Dong Huangli's face was filled with awkwardness. Who in the world would be flirting with a girl like you? You immediately said such words to me. If you are able to get a girl, then there would be a ghost in the world. Perhaps because he was rejected, God Ye's competitive spirit was aroused. He began to use moves that he thought were powerful. Block the door. Send flowers. If Yi Hua was here, he would definitely give a slap to his son's head. How can I have such a stupid child like you? If you directly spoil the child, wouldn't the child be yours? Look at your mother. She was conquered by me just like that. In this day and age, as long as you have a child, anything is possible. Marriage is a given. You're really wasting your brain cells, idiot. Sister, what do you think I should do? Xian will leave the moment she sees me. I can't even say a word. I'm going home soon, and I won't be able to bring my girlfriend back. God Yi felt terrified just thinking about it. Dong Huangli said earnestly, "All right, listen to big sister. There might still be a chance for you to be saved. After all, Xianer and I are in the same dormitory, and I feel that Xian is interested in you." Interested in me? Really? God Yi was in disbelief and felt that his sister was comforting him. He felt that he was considered aloof, but Lu Xianer was even more aloof in front of him. However, she would smile in front of others, while he was like a cockroach. Of course, how can you not believe big sister's words? Dong Huangli said seriously. To be honest, God Yi did not really believe that big sister was a disaster. Right now, the kind that everyone was afraid of, the kind that everyone had to stay away from. Even the sect master had to speak nicely to her. If not, she would cause chaos in meridian-breaking sect. There were all sorts of reasons for her to do that. Generally speaking, she would increase her strength, and then accidentally make a mistake, such as blowing up a house, or burning down the library. In short, she would cause all sorts of trouble. Everyone was afraid. She is truly a little demon. No, she is already a big demon now. A lot of people had witnessed Dong Huangli's destructive potential, and it simply made people want to escape. To be able to live together with someone as terrifying as Dong Huangli, that Lu Xiener was definitely not a simple person. I believe, of course I believe, God Yi said against his conscience. No matter what big sister says, I won't do it. However, the current situation is different. Without waiting for Dong Huangli to speak, God Yi suddenly asked curiously, Big sister, how is your search going? Me. Other than you. Who else dares to get close to your big sister? God Yi nodded his head subconsciously. There's nothing wrong with what God Yi said. Then, big sister, aren't you afraid that daddy will be disappointed? God Yi asked curiously. Dong Huangli patted on God Yi's shoulder. Little brother, I'm a woman. God Yi instantly understood. Girls have their own advantages and I can't. Daddy's expectations of me are very high. Big sister, just tell me, I will listen to you. Dong Huangli said seriously. Stretch out your arm. God Yi stretched out his arm, expressing his curiosity. Muscles aren't that awesome. Dong Huangli looked at her brother's biceps. Too low, they aren't even inflated. God Yi didn't quite understand. Strength has nothing to do with muscles, right? Look at daddy, do you have any muscles? You probably don't know about this, but girls like guys with muscles. I heard that from Xiener. Then why would mommy like daddy? Dong Huangli's face sunk. God Yi, I am teaching you not to talk about daddy and mommy. How would I know? Oh, big sister doesn't know. You scram, I'm not teaching you anymore. God Yi hurriedly pulled her back, then said with a fawning tone, Big sister, I was wrong. Act coquettishly for big sister. God Yi was speechless. God Yi took a deep breath, then shouted out with a tone that caused one's scalp to go numb. Big sister, sob sob sob. Dong Huangli laughed out loud. God Yi hurriedly stopped acting like that. Even he himself felt disgusted. Stop laughing. God Yi said sternly. When the time comes, I will call someone over. Dong Huangli stabilized her emotions. Although you don't have a lot of muscles, you still have some curves. You need to show off your muscles in front of Xiener. I believe that Xiener will look at you in a different light. After saying that, even Dong Huangli herself didn't believe it. However, there was a reason why she said that. God Yi cared too much about his face, even more so than her father. How was it possible to win a girl's heart when chasing after a girl? That was why she had to train God Yi's shamelessness, just like herself. You still need a chance. God Yi said seriously. Dong Huangli couldn't help but knock on her brother's head. You idiot, tomorrow is the martial arts competition, and Xiener will be watching as well. Just show off your muscles. Do you know that if you can't win her heart, you're dead? God Yi's gaze instantly became firm. The martial arts competition this time was mainly to pick up girls. For the sake of the mission, God Yi had even forgotten the promise he made with his sister, Yi Lu. However, at that moment, under the shade of a tree in Maple Valley. Chapter 1284. Under the maple forest, with a smile on his face, a boy was currently kissing a girl, and that girl's face was filled with shyness, seemingly not knowing what to do. The boy's height had already reached 1.8 meters. He was wearing black clothes, and there was a black bamboo flute on his waist. His hair was combed back, and his facial features were extremely handsome. While kissing, the boy opened his eyes and looked at the shy girl in front of him. Needless to say, this was Yi Yan who had grown up. He had simply become a playboy. However, Yi Yan did not do anything else. He only kissed the girl, and even his hands were only holding on to the girl's shoulders. Yi Yan. Suddenly, a shout rang out, causing Yi Yan, who was currently enjoying, to go into a daze. He lightly let go of the girl, and a girl with a face filled with anger could be seen standing at the side. This girl's looks were not bad, just that right now, her face was filled with anger, and her pair of beautiful eyes looked as if they were going to spew out flames. However, Yi Yan appeared to be very calm. The folding fan on his right hand opened up, and on the folding fan, there were even big words written by himself. Scumbag. Yi Yan. What do you mean by this? The girl questioned angrily. He actually kissed another girl behind my back. Yi Yan shrugged his shoulders and waved his folding fan. Xiao Sun, don't get agitated, just let big brother kiss you once. Scram. I don't want to see you anymore. You are a scumbag. The girl turned around and ran away, and her tears fell down from the sky. Yi Yan let out a light sigh and mumbled. Such a big word, you only saw it now seriously. Xiao Qing, let big brother kiss you again. I don't want, I thought so you are a scumbag. The girl seemed to have seen through Yi Yan's true colors, and immediately ran away. Yi Yan went into a daze for a moment, then laughed lightly. Sigh, girls nowadays are just too careless, they don't understand my inner qualities, and are only attracted by my outstanding appearance, too shallow. How many is it now? Suddenly an ice-cold voice rang out. Yi Yan counted with his fingers. Counting, this is already the 312 big sisters that I have harmed. Lu, our big brother is awesome, right? Yi Lu's figure walked out from the side. Right now, Yi Lu was 1 year younger than Yi Yan. Although she wasn't as tall as Yi Yan, she was still one of the best. Yi Lu was still as cold as usual, and this coldness was even more severe than when she was young. Hence she was called Ice Goddess. If one were to say that in the Meridian Breaking sect, many young ladies were there for God Yi, then in the Divine Academy, most of the young men were there for Yi Lu. Reality proved that being aloof was indeed attractive. Look at the current Yi Lu. A girl really changed 18 times between womanhood and womanhood. Her beauty was not inferior to Qinya at all. In fact, she was even better than Qinya. How could a girl like her not drive men crazy? For so many years, other than harming girls, Yi Yan didn't do anything great. However, this kind of scumbag Yi Yan's face. However, there was nothing Yi Lu could do about her brother. He called himself a scumbag, but even so, there were still many young ladies who risked their lives to die for him. Situations like what had just happened once or twice a month. If father sees you like this, he will definitely be angry, Yi Lu said indifferently. Yi Yan patted his little sister's shoulder. Lu, this isn't big brother's fault. Look at big brother's fan. But there are still girls going up. I can only blame big brother for being too good looking, too outstanding. Yi Lu glared at her big brother. Prepare to be scolded by mom and dad, I am going to snitch. Lu, we are related, big brother didn't do anything bad. I am just telling these girls not to be deceived by a man's appearance. In the end, big brother is doing a good deed. Yi Yan waved his fan and smiled, appearing very elegant. This sentence was indeed true. Yi Yan's appearance was indeed very handsome. Twisting words and forcing logic. Yi Lu snorted. Yi Yan smiled. This was just a small problem. School life was so boring, he had to kill time. After this competition, we are going home. Thinking about it makes me a bit excited. Yi Yan's expression changed. If there was a child who changed the most, it would be Yi Yan. Although Yi Yan looked very frivolous just now, the fierceness in his eyes was even fiercer than Yi Hua's. It was just that Yi Yan hid it well. Yi Lu naturally knew about her big brother's change, and was a bit worried. Actually, she was just joking. Yi Lu used this method to suppress the demon in her heart. When Yi Yan thought about going home, his father would put him in an important position, and then he would be able to show off his skills. This was the life he wanted. Yi Yan. That is a man who will step on corpses and stand at the peak. My achievements will definitely be higher than father's. I will become the most outstanding man in the entire Yi family. And this competition will be the first step for me, Yi Yan, to make my debut. Big sister, little brother God Yi, don't disappoint me. Because when I, Yi Yan, am fierce, I am really fierce. There was a loud smack. Yi Yan held the back of his head. Lu, it hurts. What are you fantasizing about again? It is time to find a new girlfriend. Yi Yan spread his hands and laughed. Yi Lu said helplessly. Can't you have a good talk? Do you have to be a scumbag? That doesn't exist. Yi Yan kept his folding fan, looked at the golden leaves, then suddenly said faintly, Lu, you are going to fight against God Yi soon. Do you have any chance of winning? When it came to serious matters, Yi Lu became serious, 50% chance. Lu, although we are a family this time, it is a test of 10+ years of achievements. Big brother hopes that you can win. Right now, Yiyan was no longer that little kid who followed behind Dong Huangli. He also knew about honor, and as a father's child he can only win, he cannot lose. I know. Yi Lu said coldly. After so many years, Yi Lu has been looking forward to fighting against God Yi. I must win. As expected of my, Yi Yan's little sister, Big Brother has high hopes for you. Yi Yan patted onto his little sister's head. Luckily no one saw this action, if not it would have shocked everyone. Yi Lu did not resist and said softly, "Then what about you, Big Brother?" Number 1. Yi Yan said with a slight smile, and a fierce look flashed past his eyes. Right at that moment, a figure slowly walked over, and the brother and sister immediately looked over. That figure was a youngster who was also wearing black clothes. He appeared calm, but the stubbornness in his eyes was very obvious. That person was Lin Cheng. When they were young, the brother and sister often interacted with each other. Back then Lin Cheng even challenged Yi Yan to a one-on-one fight, and was directly abused like a dog. However, Lin Cheng did not give up, and even trained even more diligently. There was only one goal, and that was to defeat those two people, to become number 1 in Shen Institution. Chapter 1285. Lin Cheng was quite famous outside. Since Yi Yan and Yi Lu hadn't participated in the competition, people didn't know much about them. However, Lin Cheng participated every year, his ranking also gradually rising, his reputation also growing, becoming a well-known figure in deity institution's younger generation. However, Lin Cheng felt like this wasn't much. Since the two siblings weren't participating, it wouldn't matter even if he got first place. Seeing Lin Cheng walk over, Yi Yan wanted to roll his eyes. Even Yi Lu wanted to turn around and leave. This isn't being impolite, it's just that I'm really already numb to it. Because the difference in strength is right here. I really don't want to dampen the enthusiasm of others. After all, I'm a child that was born at the finish line. This world is just so unfair, there's nothing I can do about it. Reincarnation is also a skill. In fact, he could even guess what Lin Cheng would say next. He would definitely say it. I will definitely win against you. Definitely. I want everyone to see the strength of my forest city. Lin Cheng looked at the siblings in front of him and said in a deep voice, "This courtyard. It's not just the two of you. And my forest city." The siblings had to praise Lin Cheng for being such a persistent man. But I can't say praising words. If I say it out, other people will think that I am looking down on them. For the two siblings, there were only two opponents this time. Only Dong Huangli and God Yi. I don't really care about the others. I'm looking forward to your performance, Yi Lu said as he looked at Lin Cheng. Lin Cheng turned around beautifully. At this moment, a light breeze blew, causing Lin Cheng's black robes to flutter. He had the demeanor of a hero. All right, everyone has left, Yi Lu said softly. Yi Yan shrugged his shoulders. I feel that this will show more boldness. When Lin Cheng loses, he will feel more at ease. All right, let's go back. We should be able to see Big Sister and Big Brother tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. It would be great if Mom and Dad could come too. On the other hand, Yi Yan hoped that his parents would come over. At that time, they would be able to see his elegance and would definitely praise him. However, Yi Yan felt that his father was so busy that he probably wouldn't come. Even if he didn't come, he had to go all out. After all, the news here would also reach his father's ears. Yi Lu sighed. It was for the best. The entrance of Maple Forest was a city, specially built by the organizing committee. In fact, it was just like a village. Even the inn was made of wood, and was very simple. Once again, it showed how stingy the committee was. Although it was a bit stingy, but the necessary facilities still existed, and the scale was still very big. After all, the number of people that came to watch the battle was huge. Therefore, the inns were all overcrowded. Those who didn't manage to book a room could only go to the open air. Facing such a situation right now, Yihua's originally good mood turned into a bad mood. Letting me stay in such a place is already giving me enough face. And to actually say that, I don't have a reservation. Walking on the street, the group of people attracted a lot of attention. Just that, the group seemed to be a bit curious, that's all. because Yi Hua and the others had changed their attire, and even their appearances had changed a little. Yi Hua wanted to secretly take a look at the children's achievements. He didn't want to be discovered by the children too quickly. Both Qingye and Donghuang Baiji agreed to Donghuang Baiji's suggestion. After all, they had not seen each other for more than 10 years, and it was time for them to see their children's achievements. As for the others, they had also changed a little. Although they had not seen each other for more than 10 years, the children could still recognize these subordinates. The group of people dressed up as ordinary merchants, and all of the subordinates were guards. Yi Hua was naturally the boss, and there was no problem with this kind of disguise. However, in this place, Yi Hua's position didn't seem to be very high. After all, this was a place where experts gathered, and ordinary people were unable to be accepted. Let's find a place and have a meal, Yi Hua said faintly as he walked towards a shop at the side. Saying that it was a shop was a bit of an exaggeration. In actuality, it was just a straw shed, and the business was very good. Adding up the group, there were more than 20 people. They looked rather scary, especially Tsang Konghong. He was tall and strong, and had a fierce look on his face. Yi Hua walked into the straw shed and directly sat down. When the boss saw the group of people, he hurriedly walked over with a smile. "Boss, this place has already been booked. I am truly sorry." "Booked again? I'm here to see the children. Do you really have to make my good mood so irritable?" "Sit," Yi Hua said faintly. The group of fierce subordinates sat down in the surroundings. This was definitely a situation where they were going to cause trouble. The boss clearly felt that this group of people was here to cause trouble. However, the boss still smiled apologetically and said, "Boss, this place has truly been booked, and boss, if you want to cause trouble, this is the worst choice." "What is there to eat?" Yi Hua asked faintly. The smile on the boss's face gradually disappeared. "These people look just like ordinary people, just that they are slightly rich. They really think that I am someone important. This place is managed by the South Organizing Committee, no matter how powerful you are. If you cause trouble today, you will be punished in the future. Threat for so many years I didn't step out of the door, and the moment I stepped out, I was threatened. Let me have a look." Yi Hua said lightly as he took a look at the blood demon. The blood demon immediately understood. He stood up and walked towards the stove, and Luo Ho followed behind the blood demon. After all, the blood demon was just an ordinary person, and Luo Ho had to protect him. Furthermore, the blood demon's culinary skills were currently top-notch. Even if I wanted to eat it, I wouldn't be able to. Now that I have the chance, how can I let it go? What are you all doing? You all are too daring." The two waiters pointed at the blood demon and said while trembling with fear. The people who were eating at the side were a bit surprised. Are these people really not afraid? Or are they just courting death? Luo Ho immediately knocked the waiters unconscious, and the blood demon took out a white coat from God knows where and put it on. Then, the blood demon started carefully choosing the ingredients. The subordinates looked at the blood demon and swallowed their saliva. Other than being able to taste the blood demon's culinary skills during Chinese New Year, they basically wouldn't be able to eat the blood demon's culinary skills. Today, whoever dares to disturb the blood demon's cooking is equivalent to becoming our enemy and courting death. The boss pointed at the crowd and shouted, "Good job all of you, just you all wait. I will go and report to the organizing committee right now and chase you all out." After finished speaking, the boss ran away. Yi Hua didn't stop the boss. I, the Supreme Overlord, plan to come here in a low-profile manner and bring the children home. It is you all who made me unhappy. Also, that whatever chairman meeting, everything needs to be booked. Why didn't you just give me a phone number to book? It is obvious that you all are looking down on me. This is making me feel very troubled. Yi Hua, go and fetch the children. Don't cause too much trouble, Qingye said in a low voice. She also didn't want other factors to appear during the reunion. Chapter 1286. Yi Hua remained silent. Whether or not this matter would blow up would depend on the other party's attitude. Don't you know that the people sitting around me are all people who kill without batting an eye? They can raze this place to the ground in a matter of minutes. Moreover, These subordinates had not seen blood for a long time. Blood Demon's cooking speed was very fast. Even if it was the most ordinary ingredients, Blood Demon would still be able to cook at the fastest speed possible. After all, his honor was hungry. Under the premise of ensuring the speed, his honor also had to ensure the quality. These were the most important things. I can't be too careless. Very soon, a fragrant smell wafted out, and Yihua felt much more comfortable. However, just now, Yihua had also heard that the people at the table beside him were discussing about the children. Hearing those people praising the children, Yihua was rather happy. However, the good situation didn't last long, and he immediately started to ridicule them. This caused the corners of Yihua and the others' mouths to twitch slightly. Did you guys know? That bloodline break sex Donghuang Li is a destruction king. When the people from bloodline break sex saw Donghuang Li, it was as if they had seen a ghost. What does this count as? Deity institutions Yen, that is but a top-level scum. I heard that he already harmed over 1,000 older sisters, even causing people to lose their lives. He really is a super scumbag. That Yi Lu is still okay. I heard that Pulse Break Sex God Yi is pursuing a girl. I wonder if it's true. Hearing those words, Donghuang Baiji immediately went into a daze. My son is actually chasing after a girl? Is God Yi hitting on a girl? How is this possible? Even Yihua was quite shocked after hearing that. With God Yi's personality, would he take the initiative? That girl must be very outstanding. However, Qin Ye's expression was a bit bad, because just a moment ago, she heard that her son was actually harming a big sister, and it had even reached a terrifying 4 digits. He even killed someone. This little bastard is actually even more powerful than his father. Your father has harmed 4 people, and you have harmed 4 people. You are much more powerful than your father. However, right when Yihua was thinking, this Yan is actually so fierce. Not bad, not bad. As my children, the more the better. When the time comes, I will be able to sow the seeds and let my bloodline envelop the entire world. I'm so mad. It's all your fault. Yan'er has been led astray. Qingye said angrily, pushing all of the blame onto Yihua. Yihua said disapprovingly, he's a man after all. What's wrong with finding a few women? Is there a problem? Qingye, is this how you teach your child? Qingye said while panting with rage. The child is completely being led astray by you. Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing were thinking, if I have a child, I definitely can't let Yihua teach the child. The child is too terrifying. Is there anything wrong with what I have taught you? Yihua said faintly, not feeling that there was anything wrong with what he had taught. Qingye didn't want to argue with Yihua about this. Moreover, they were outside right now, and there were still her subordinates around. Yihua had an unhappy look on his face. The child is already so big, and he already has his own thoughts and thoughts. What are you blindly worrying about him for? You are being soft-hearted. Donghuang Baiji mumbled. This child God Yi actually took the initiative to chase after a girl. I really want to see just how outstanding that girl is. Since Shen has taken a liking to that girl, she can't be that bad. Yihua said faintly. After going through Yi's matter, Yihua had already tossed aside the idea that the two of them were well matched in terms of social status. As long as the two of them liked each other, it would be fine. Some things can only be understood after experiencing it. Now that I think about it, I still feel a bit remorseful. I really can't wait anymore. Donghuang Baiji seemed to be very excited. I actually have a daughter-in-law, my God. When the time comes, even my grandson is born, and I am going to be a grandmother, haha. While Donghuang Baiji was happy, Qingye was depressed. My son is actually a scumbag. He is the same as his father, a scumbag. Suddenly, more than 10 people came to the outside of the straw shed. And the boss was among them. The person leading the group was a man. Qing Yutong looked at the man, and immediately recognized him. Isn't this man? 12 years ago, I summoned Daji, and in the end, Daji acknowledged me as her brother-in-law. It's precisely this man Feng Yun. This man was precisely Feng Yun who had swallowed his anger and humiliation for many years. After so many years had passed, there was a very deep pit in Feng Yun's heart. And that pit was that the first orange card that he had nurtured actually acknowledged someone else as his master. Damn it. But now, The little wimp that he had summoned back then had already become an orange card, and furthermore, he was standing right beside me, looking at the man in front of me, and the woman beside him. Why do I feel that this scene is so familiar? Feng did not recognize Yihua and the others. After all, Yihua's appearance had changed, but his temperament did not change. This was what made Feng think back to that time. This scene is so familiar. Back then, we also sat like this. However, today is still the same. But today, I am already different from the past. Look at the people beside me. 1 orange card, 3 purple cards, and 8 top-notch blue cards. With this kind of lineup, I am already able to sweep away everyone. Yihua looked at Feng who was walking in, and he completely had no impression of Feng at all. Only Qin Yutong recognized Feng. Back then, she also found out from the system that this man had a system. However, looking at Qin Yutong now, this man seems to have turned over a new leaf, and the people beside him are actually all card sets. Feng no longer had to worry about the situation of the cards betraying him, because these cards were all raised by him since young, and the feelings he had for them were very strong. Lord Feng. It's this man. He didn't follow the rules and insisted on sitting here. Lord Feng, I hope that you can uphold justice for this lowly one. Feng looked at Yihua and the others, then said gravely, Who are you all? To actually not follow the rules. Do you all know what the consequences are? Yihua didn't want to pay attention to them, and quietly waited for the food that the blood demon made. This kind of small matter, it is fine if I just let my subordinates settle it. If not, why would the Supreme Overlord want subordinates? If the boss does everything, then what is the point of having subordinates? Seeing that these people were actually ignoring him, Feng Yun's expression immediately changed. Speak. If not, die. Feng Yun shouted out angrily. It has been a long time since someone dared to treat me like this. Right now, Qin Yutong was currently asking her system. Hey, can these cards be modified a bit? Qin Yutong asked curiously. Master, your request is simply too simple. Qin Yutong didn't expect that her system would be so awesome. After all, so many years had passed, and this system had already become the commanding point of the system world. That kind of thing is simply too easy. That's fine, these people should be able to modify the cards, right? Satisfy Master's wish. Haha, then this is a bit interesting. I didn't expect that I would still be able to meet him. I really feel sad for him. This kind of person's probability is really low. That you're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.